Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is My Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Networks on Saturday, March 12th, 2022. Join me and Micah Sargent for episode 1875. Enjoy. No ads, just the content. That's what you get when you join Club Twit. You even get extras like Twit Plus, our new bonus feed just for members, and exclusive access to the Club Twit Discord community. Join now for just $7 a month and support Twit as we continue to create top-notch podcasts you expect and deserve. We're just getting started, so be one of the first to join as we build Club Twit from the ground up. You could be an early member. Go to twit.tv/clubtwit to learn more and sign up now. Thanks. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography. We got your smartphones. We got your smart watches. We got all that jazz. 8888 Ask. Leo, say hello to Tech Guy 2.
Hello.
Mr. Micah Sargent in the house, helping us out here on a fine spring day. Dare I say spring? I think it's spring.
Spring has sprung, yeah.
It's snowing in some parts of the country, but that's, you know, what is it? In like a lion, out like a lamb. Did you ever say that in Missouri?
No, because it's in like a lion, out like a lamb every day. You just never know what you never know what you're gonna get. Missouri weather's like a box of chocolates.
Well, I hope everyone is staying cozy and comfy. We are here to talk high tech. The phone number is 8888 Ask Leo. Micah's an expert in all things tech, especially in iOS, Mac OS. Although you have a blue Alcantara-clad Surface laptop that you call Elvis.
Elvis, good old Elvis.
Blue suede Elvis. So Windows, you're probably more of a Windows expert these days than I am. I'm kind of done.
You've got Linux covered. I've got Mac OS and Windows covered.
I'm kind of done with Windows. Bit, right? Oh, man, is it just a nasty Windows world out there. Anyway, 88, mostly because of, bad guys making it nasty. Mm-hmm. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number if you want to talk high tech. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. and Canada. We have a website because what kind of tech guys would we be if we didn't have a website? I mean, come on, man. That's techguylabs.com, and that's free to all and sundry. No need to make an account. If we did that, then we'd have to have all those cookie announcements and the GDPR announcements and all that silly. Is it getting worse with the cookie announcements? I think it's getting worse now.
I think more sites are doing it because they feel like they have to, or else.
More than just that. You'll see our site, techguylabs.com, has a little tiny banner that says, yeah, we use cookies. So does almost everybody. Just say okay? That's my being peevish, which I probably shouldn't be. More and more, you see whole sites with like the whole front page is a cookie banner that you can't even get to the site. And then it's paragraphs of explanation. And instead of just saying okay, they say okay, which cookies, control cookies. You have to do all this setting. And guess what? Here's a little tip. You know how they keep track of what your preferences are?
It's a cookie.
It's a cookie. So there's nothing wrong with cookies. I'm just saying. Nothing wrong. We're in topsy-turvy world where cookies are bad, but NFTs, they're fine.
Oh, my word. I love, there's that site, NFTs, or the Web3 is going well or something like that. Web3 is going great.com.
That's sarcasm.
Yes, it is a site full of all of the nonsense Web3 things that are going on, including NFTs.
And of course, a lot of the latest news is how people are being scammed by NFTs. You know what's a real scam? Did you know that there is a law saying you cannot, if you're an internet service provider, you cannot charge people, you cannot force people to rent your equipment. This is, did you know that?
I didn't know that there was a law against
Yeah,
them
it's
doing
against
it.
the law.
I never do use the thing from them, but
Yeah. Congress passed a law banning monthly rental fees for broadband modems provided to consumers, even when consumers were not using that equipment because they had already purchased their own modems. In fact, which is my advice. All you have to do is a little math. $10 a month, $120 a year. And you could see, in a year or two, you're going to pay for your own cable modem. It'll be more modern. It'll be better. But there'd be no point in doing it if you didn't take the fee off, right? Because then you're double dipping. You're paying for your own modem and they're renting it to you, which you're not. So Congress has passed a law. In fact, Frontier Communications, our favorite cable company, was charging a monthly rental fee even when consumers weren't using that. Here's
was it Congress or was it just the FCC?
Congress.
Oh,
I will tell you the law if you'd like to know.
I would love to know.
Yes, it's an actual law. Let's see, a federal law prohibits broadband and TV providers, that's important, by the way, for charging rental fees for equipment customers have provided themselves. Frontier was the worst, but I think they're all doing it. It was an upgrade to the Communications Act. And the FCC did have a 6-month extension saying you have until December 2020
to stop charging them for something they shouldn't be
to
charged
stop
for.
doing that nasty thing. They're still doing it. The article in Consumer Reports says you need to enforce this law. Consumer Reports said it asked members about their internet bills and got over 350 responses. They do these surveys all the time. Some contained allegations, according to Consumer Reports, that the law was being violated while others state the new statute is being respected. Many more stories suggest that ISPs dissuade customers from using their own equipment. They either refuse to troubleshoot. If you get problems with it, it's not my fault, man. So customers feel pressured to rent equipment they would prefer to own instead. It is not an economical thing to use the cable company's equipment at $10 a month. It's just not. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So stop. And if they continue to charge you, you need to go to the FCC. The Consumer Reports article referred to a filing that they have made with the FCC, including examples of complaints with AT&T, Comcast, Verizon, Charter Spectrum, Frontier, Windstream, and Cox. That seems like a pretty... That's a rogues gallery of internet service providers. So, public service announcement. You don't have to pay that fee. You can buy your own, and you probably should because it just doesn't make sense otherwise. It's just it's not a sensible use of your money. Let's see what else is. I'm trying to avoid the obvious Ukraine stories. There are lots of them. We are fighting with Ukraine. We care about Ukraine, and our hearts and minds are with you. But life goes on and elsewhere. In fact, here's some good news. You know, the mRNA vaccines, that the COVID vaccines were, mostly, there are a variety of COVID vaccines, but the Pfizer and the BioNTech, Moderna, are based on something called mRNA, which is a really interesting technology. Moderna has now announced plans to develop vaccines against 15 other illnesses using mRNA, including chikungunya, dengue, Ebola, malaria, and COVID's predecessor, MERS, the Mideast Respiratory Syndrome. mRNA, messenger RNA, is a really interesting idea. I was talking to Amy Webb. She was on Coast to Coast, our good friend Amy Webb, the futurist, and she said she was on Coast to Coast and somebody called. It's the middle of the night, as one does in the middle of the night, called the radio show and said, I'm not going to get the vaccine because it's unproven technology. I'm afraid it's going to change my DNA. And she said, oh, no. Here's the problem. It's like you were thrown into a tennis match and no one ever showed you how to swing a racket. Your body doesn't know how to fight COVID. mRNA just teaches you. It doesn't change your DNA. It just teaches your immune system this thing exists and here's how you play the game. it's such an interesting technology. And the reason I mention it is very high tech because it requires computer analysis of the DNA, the genetics of this virus, or the spike proteins of the virus, not the DNA. And apparently we can do this genome sequencing quickly. They did it over a weekend for COVID, over a weekend. And now they can do mRNA vaccines for a lot larger set of illnesses. This is the quote. mRNA vaccines are essentially plug and play. You can change the part of the mRNA that encodes the protein, plugging in new codes specific to the virus we want to protect against. Bada bing, bada boom, Bob's your uncle. They're working on HIV. They're working on tuberculosis. Anything's viral. Malaria. And they aim to have vaccines for all 15 pathogens in clinical trials by 2025. Actually, they've been doing HIV for a while. That started human trials last year. Very interesting. Sometimes technology gives as well as takes away. We got to mention both, right? All right, I'll mention one Ukraine story. The International Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, which is the internet body, the non-governmental internet body that keeps track of IP addresses and names. When you register your domain name, ICANN runs the big servers, the 13 canonical servers, they call them, that run the internet. And the folks in Ukraine said, could you please turn off those servers for Russia? ICANN's response was interesting. They said, no, that's not how it works. You know, Russia was, in fact, for a long time through the UN trying to shut down ICANN, saying it's run by the Americans and it's it's an arm of the Americans, and we don't think the Americans should run the internet. So ICANN said, look, it's important for us to be completely independent of politics and just that system works. You know, you guys work it out amongst yourselves. But there are internet service providers. There are Namecheap is one, for instance, that won't sell domain names now to Russian organizations. So Russia says, well, we're going to make our own. This is my chance to do Russian accent, bad Russian accent. We're going to make our own. They're going to make their own servers, their own domain servers, and completely bypassed the West. They're going to make their own certificates. You know how when you're on a secure site, there's a certificate. Well, that's one thing. The certificate authority is saying, we don't want to do business with Russia. So they're going to... There's one drawback, though. You can't use any of the normal browsers because they all have their own certificate store, and they don't recognize the Russian certificates. You can't use Chrome or Firefox or Edge or Safari. So you have to use the Russian brown, but Yandex browser, good browser, very nice, recognize us. Okay. So I think my guess is that will be an excuse not to use those browsers. It'd be just my guess, even in Russia. Actually, there's a lot of heat for Duckduckgo. I don't know how you feel about this. They have said we're going to lower the search rankings. Duckduckgo is an alternative to Google search, a privacy-focused alternative to Google search. We're going to lower the search rankings for Russian disinformation. People are upset. They're upset. They said, well, no, a search engine should be agnostic. I don't know how I come down on this one. Search engines judge all the time whether a site is good or not. Google all the time cuts out spam sites, for instance. That's normal. You kind of want them to do it. You want to get the right results, the results you want. But maybe you want Russian disinformation. That's the question, I guess. 8888 Ask Leo. We could talk about that. 888-827-5536. Coming up, Scott Wilkinson, home theater guru. We'll talk with Johnny Jett about travel. Dick Debartolo with gizmos. And your call's next.
It was interesting, Duckduckgo.
I think they did the right thing. That's what browser search engines do all the time.
What's interesting about it is that the European Union has been encouraging all of them to do this anyway.
Right.
So Duckduckgo was kind of just joining all of the other ones. Google.
They're all doing
sanctions from the EU. Yeah.
Well, this is the thing: is that people thought, oh, well, at least DuckDuckGo won't do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly people who want Russian disinformation to be seen.
Exactly.
To be honest.
Yeah.
They call it the woke search engine. Okay, that's a code. That's a new
There's
code
a difference
word.
between like wanting the true speech out there versus just, oh yeah,
Right.
why would you encourage falsities?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a good argument also that you should be able to choose, see what you want. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's actually hiding them. I think it's lowering the ranking, which is I think a decent compromise. Search engines all the time deprecate sites that have bad quality results. So it's not unheard of for a search engine to do that. You wouldn't want a search engine that gave you every match. Maybe you would. But even DuckDuckGo never did that. Because it's actually a big problem with gaming search engines, I think. I mean, a lot of the Google results suck now because of people trying to game Google.
Exactly.
So I don't know. It's a conundrum. We'll probably talk about it tomorrow on Twit. Probably. Oh, I forgot to do the Meta employees getting to do their own laundry. That's a good story. I'll get to that. The phone's ringing. Can you get that? Can you get that phone? The phone's ringing, Kim.
I'll get it. I'll get it.
Okay, Kim Schaffer.
I'll make sure I get it.
Hi, Kim Schaffer.
Hi.
Good to see you.
You too.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to.
You get here before I did, so you should welcome me.
I know. Welcome to your own studio.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
You did give Micah a little heart attack, but it's okay. He would have been fine.
The radio audience has no idea, but I pulled up seconds before the show began.
You did. I said he's going to have to run.
I did not. I don't like to run. That's undignified. I walked briskly into the studio.
Oh, yeah, you made it though.
The theme
Barely.
song was playing when I came in the door, I admit. That's okay. I always wanted, there's a way you could, there was a guy who did this. I think it was at his company. He had he used Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and set it up so that whenever he walked in the door, his theme song would start playing on the speakers in the studio.
Like dun, dun, dun,
yeah. Or like his theme song.
Whatever it shall be.
Yeah, and I thought we could do that because you see the employees' phones joining the Wi-Fi as they approach the studio, right? Because they're all logged into the Wi-Fi.
That's funny.
So our Wi-Fi could knows who's on it.
It's like a walk-up theme in baseball.
As soon as this saw Kim Schaffer, what would your theme be that you would play throughout the studios?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot.
Mm-hmm. Micah probably would be
that
TLC song, Waterfalls.
I don't know. The song that's in my head right now all the time is this Fancy-like.
Fancy. Perfect.
It's about taking your girl on a date to Applebee's.
Oh, wow. That's very fancy.
It's country, sort of, if you want to call it that. But it's just one of those catchy tunes. It's in my head.
I might set this up. We have speakers throughout the building.
That would be really funny.
That your theme song plays as you enter the door. I think that'd be great.
It.
Plus applause, of course, for me. Who should I talk to? Bravo.
I'm going to say that common theme today we'll be talking about the Apple event. So let's go to Kevin.
Oh, the Apple event.
Yeah,
I completely forgot about that.
I was wondering.
Kevin in Las Vegas.
I like to save it.
Oh.
Hi, Kevin. Thank you, Kim. I like to save it for our callers, right? Welcome to the show, Kevin.
Hi. Yes, Leo. It's good to be with you. I've been following you since Tech TV days.
I remember those days. Dimly, but I do.
In fact, I met you at a meet and greet in a Mac World in San Francisco in the before times.
Oh, wow.
Ago.
Yeah. How fun.
Yeah, and I wanted to go to the studio to see my Mac Break Weekly, but of course, when I was making plans for that...
then this thing called COVID hit.
Yeah.
Someday we'll reopen the studios.
And then I since then retired to Las Vegas.
Nice.
So I moved out of the Bay Area. So it's been wonderful here. But I have some questions about the new Fat Boy, which I'm going to get.
That's what I call it, the Mac Studio, which is a fat Mac Mini.
And because I have a 2008 Mac Pro Tower cheese grater, which
2008. Wow.
Yeah.
So that's Intel, but it's, not. So that's the thing everybody who uses a Mac should realize now is that Apple has replaced all but the Mac Pro Intel version with its own silicon, which is in almost every respect superior. In fact, it's interesting. These new Mac Studios are actually faster than than your cheese grater, old Mac Pro. They're faster than the latest Mac Pros. They're very fast.
Oh, yeah, and I can't run any of the new software. I'm still on El Capitan.
Well, that's the other problem is, you can't. Yeah, you need to get to Monterey.
I can't upgrade a lot of the software that I use. So that's another reason. I mean, it's chugging along, but it's...
This is a great time. I mean, the basically what Apple has done, and I really should have talked about this to begin with. I didn't want to be very Mac-ish, is change its product line in a significant way. Let me take a break. We're going to do Scott Wilkinson. Stay tuned, and I'll answer your question. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. The thick Mac. So, I think you're smart to say this is the time. It has been 14 good years with your old Mac Pro. That's a long time to run a computer. What are you looking at?
Well, I'm going to get the Max, I think. The Ultra's probably a little... The
Ultra is high, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
we bought one of each, so I'll be able to compare them. But I think for most uses, look, this is so much faster than your Mac Pro.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, I'm a retired musician from the Bay Area, but I'm going to be probably working to some extent part-time while I'm here because musicians never really retire.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to use Logic Pro and some other tools.
Nice.
So
these will run so beautifully. Even the M1 Pro, even the original M1 actually could run circles with Logic Pro. Dozens and dozens of instruments all at the same time, which is, of course, the big challenge. And so this should be even better. You got more memory, faster SSDs, and, of course, a lot more horsepower.
Yeah. Well, the question I was going to ask on the air was about the studio display, whether I should get that or look.
That's a great question. You could, if you wish, you could hang on. Otherwise, I'll just answer it on the air when we're done with Scott. How about?
I can hang on. Yeah.
Okay, good, because that's actually a very good question.
Okay.
Hang on. It'll just be a few minutes because it's time for the old hippie himself. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Leo.
Hello, Scott.
In his
hey,
hippie
Micah.
lair.
How are you?
Micah's here.
Doing well.
What do you want to talk about, Mr. Scott?
I got a listener question.
I like it. Much more to the trip. What is hip? This guy right here, Mr. Scott Wilkinson, our home theater geek. He's a contributor at TechHive.com, joins us every week to talk about big screen TVs and surround sound and the like. Hello, Scott.
Hello, Leo.
So we were talking, we'll talk more in a little bit. In fact, Kevin wants to know more about Apple's new monitor. Some experts were surprised that it was not a mini LED display. And we were off the air just now talking about, are there shortages of the components necessary to make mini LEDs? And there's been a lot of speculation about that, and that's one of the reasons why Apple might not be doing, for instance, mini LEDs on its laptops. It might not be doing mini LEDs on some of the iPads. The higher end stuff all has mini LED. What is mini LED?
Well, mini LED refers to the backlight. All LCD displays have a backlight, and it consists of LEDs. And the question is, how many LEDs are there in the backlight? And with regular LEDs, there's maybe hundreds. With mini LED, there's thousands. So they're smaller, obviously, because of the name. And there are a bunch more of them behind the LCD panel, which actually forms the image. Now, this chip shortage thing, I wondered about that, because normally when you think of a chip shortage, you think of CPUs or GPUs or other, processor chips. But what we were talking about before we got on the air was the substrate, that is the material, the silicon onto which the mini LEDs are placed. Now, if there's a shortage of that material, then yes, it would be more difficult to make mini LED backlights for the Apple display or any TV that uses mini LEDs, such as from TCL, Hisense. A few other companies make mini LED backlights for their LCD TVs. And if the substrate is scarce for whatever reason, then yes, it would be more difficult to make, and that may be why Apple decided not to go with mini LED.
Yeah. What do you get when you get mini LED?
You get a more uniform brightness across the screen.
See, for TVs, that's important. It might even be more important, though, for computer monitors, right?
It might very well be, yeah. Especially if you're using a computer monitor for like video or photo editing.
Yeah.
You want it to be very uniform.
But if you're looking at a web page, you don't want dark spots on the web page, because you don't have backlights and enough backlights either. I mean, nevertheless, mini LED is relatively new to computing, so it's not like we have to have it. No. And most web pages are pretty bright, right? I mean, so, and the brighter it is, the less important uniformity is. Okay. Uniformity becomes more obvious when it's dark. So if you're watching a movie, I'm going back to the home theater example, you're watching a movie and it's in outer space, if it's not very uniform, you'll see certain areas of outer space looking a little lighter. I just ordered, of course, right before Apple announced their new monitor, I ordered a Dell monitor for my wife, a 20 or 31-inch monitor. Ooh,
nice.
Yeah, it was a very nice monitor. Actually, is it Dell? No, it's LG. I'm sorry. LG with HDR.
Oh, nice.
What's the model?
It was the LG 32 UP83A 31-inch class UHD IPS monitor.
Found it.
With AMD FreeSync DCI-P 395% color gamut with HDR10 compatibility and USB Type-C tilt-height pivot stand. By the way, $500 compared to 3 times that for Apple's monitor. Smaller monitor. But it has HDR, but HDR does not necessarily mean mini LED, but mini LED would be better. HDR would be better with mini LED.
Correct, because another advantage of mini LED is if you have what's called local dimming, that is different areas behind the screen brighten or dim depending on what's on the screen. Mini LED lets you have more zones, smaller zones, so it's more precise. And gives you a higher contrast, better quality imaging without haloing. So if you have a very tiny but very bright thing on a dark background, with a regular LED, you might see a halo around it, or it might be brighter kind of around that very small, bright thing. But with mini LED, it's much less likely to be obvious. And so
you're not a gamer, but for gaming, not just video, but for gaming, I would imagine this is important. In fact, it's interesting because games now are starting to come out with 120 hertz refresh, HDR. And it makes them very vivid, very real.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I was going to talk about, maybe I'll talk about next week, one of our listeners had a question about gaming.
Well, go ahead. We got 3.5 minutes. Is that enough?
Yeah, sure. Key43 from the chat room sent me an email about gaming and input lag. And he has an older Vizio with an input lag of like 30 milliseconds. And the input lag is the time it takes a display to display something from the time it receives the signal. And 30 milliseconds is the maximum, I would say, that is appropriate for gaming. And he wants to get a new TV. It's also 60 hertz. And he wants to get a new TV, and he's getting an Xbox Series X. And I say, well, the first thing you want to do is you want to get a TV with lower input lag than 30 milliseconds, because 30 milliseconds is marginal. The best ones are now at the 10 millisecond range, and those include LG C1 OLED, Samsung QN90, Hisense U8G are all in the 10 to 15 millisecond range. The other thing you want to do definitely is to get a TV that has variable refresh rate, or VRR. Because the Xbox X and these new games that you were just talking about also implement variable refresh rate. So when the action is fast and furious, the frame rate, the refresh rate is very high, and when things are kind of more static, it can be lower. And so if the display and the console implement the same type of variable refresh rate, that's going to really help things a lot. And the Xbox X implements AMD FreeSync, which is one type of variable refresh rate.
Yeah, NVIDIA has its G-Sync.
It's G-Sync
and AMD
is the other
has
one.
FreeSync.
Correct. And the Xbox does not do NVIDIA G-Sync.
No, because it has AMD graphics.
It has AMD graphics in it, so it does FreeSync. And the good news is that the LG C1 and the Samsung QN90 and the Hisense U8G all implement FreeSync. So you want to get a TV that has low input lag and has a FreeSync if you're going to get an Xbox 360 and 120 hertz maximum refresh rate.
You do want that high refresh rate. That makes a big difference in video games anyway.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
I got all this information at artings.com. They have really good stuff about input lag and variable refresh rate.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll never live it down because I got our kid a PlayStation 5 and foolishly got him a 60 hertz TV.
Oh!
But but at least in the early games on the PlayStation 5, you either would have high refresh rate or 4K. And so I said, oh, well, you don't care because you're going to be running in 4K. 4K 60 is better than HD 120. Am I wrong? Am I crazy? Don't tell me. I don't want to know. Scott Wilkinson, you're the home theater guru. Read his stuff at techhive.com. And, of course, hear him every week here on the Tech Guy Show. We're going to go back to Kevin and talk about that new Apple monitor when we return. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. So these two clocks are a little bit different. Oh well, I'm gonna keep looking at it.
Was my sound any better today?
You sound a little grungy. Do you have original sound turned on?
Yeah, I do. I could unplug and replug.
Was your sound bad last week?
It was echoey last week.
You said it had too much room, so I actually.
Oh yeah, it is better. Yeah. That in that regard, it's better.
A blanket.
That made a big difference. Yes, huge difference. Little blankie is always welcome.
Little blankie.
Yeah.
A little blankie.
A little blankie and a
nice.
binky, and you're set. No, that did make a big difference. Isn't that interesting? Boy, that made a huge difference. So was that door.
Yeah, and that door is now open. What's in there, I don't want people to see. It's my closet.
But you got a blankie, so it's okay.
I got a blankie over it, so it's okay.
A huge difference.
Good. I'm going to keep experimenting and working on my set. But
thank you. I appreciate it.
But I want things to sound good and look good for those of you who are watching.
All yours.
Thank you so very much. Let me pull up the chat room. I'm also trying to sit closer to the mic, too. Tech Dino, yes, the blue blanket is there, and I like that one a lot. There's Key 43. So you heard my answer there. You had yet more questions than that, but though that was kind of the basis of what I wanted to talk about. You do want to get 120 hertz panel. You want a TV. You want to get one that does variable refresh rate. And if you're getting an Xbox Series X, you want one that does AMD FreeSync. And go to artings.com and you'll see a list. You can look for input lag, and low input lag is the other thing you want. and you can go to artings.com and look up input lag, and they'll tell you how they measure it, and they'll give you the list of the TVs with the lowest input lag. And you can also look on there for VRR, variable refresh rate, and see which TVs do which one. And I forgot to mention, or didn't have time to mention, that these low input lag times are all with game mode on. And in the TV, it's very important to turn game mode on if you're going to play a game, which bypasses a lot of the processing that the TV does. And the difference between the input lag with the game mode on versus off is often amazing, like a factor of 10. So if you have 10 milliseconds input lag in game mode, you might have 100 milliseconds with game mode off. So that's quite remarkable.
Tell Michael about that. I don't even know what he's running in, as opposed to say cinema or.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Cinema mode or any other TV mode, but game mode. You could have 10 times the input lag. So be sure to be in game mode if you want to play games.
Why not just always have that on? What does it do poorly for other? Why is it bad for other ones?
it bypasses a lot of the other processing, like noise reduction.
Got it.
It would also bypass a frame interpolation, which many people hate. So that wouldn't be a bad thing for many people. But there are a lot of other processing functions that it would bypass that with movies would be a good thing.
Got it.
Let's see here. James, VA3JPX, noticed my spinning globe. Yes, that is magnetic levitation.
All right, we'll talk. You want to stick around to the top?
Sure, happy to.
Leo Laporte, the old Scott Wilkinson theme. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Kevin very kindly stuck around, and I'm glad you did, because I wanted to talk about your question. Kevin mentioned he's got a 2008 Mac Pro vintage cheese grater and is now ready to buy a new Mac Studio. What was your question, though?
About the studio display.
Yeah, this is the new. So, first of all, I think it's pretty clear. Micah and I were streaming the event Apple did on Tuesday. It was pretty clear that, and subsequent stories have confirmed, that Apple was replacing the iMac Pro and the 27-inch iMac with this new configuration, which is funny because this is what I've been wanting. I've been saying, I don't want to buy an all-in-one. I'd like to have them separate because monitors change, and maybe I want to get a better monitor or a different monitor. I don't want to be stuck with that particular 27-inch 5K monitor, as good as it is, and I have one sitting right in front of me from a vintage iMac now. And I think Apple realized, yeah, you know what? We can make the 24-inch iMac for somebody who wants an absolutely simple, streamlined setup, but we can deconstruct the more powerful iMac, separate the computer from the screen, and I think that's a much more flexible option. It also makes it easier to make an upgradable computer or to repair the computer or monitor if they break separately, that kind of thing. You're not out of a computer. Plus, you can use an existing monitor. So they created the Mac Studio, which is basically the guts of the iMac, and a separate studio display. The studio display is interesting, though, because it has the equivalent of an iPhone 11 in it. It's got the A13 Bionic in it, which is the same as in the iPad. It's the same as in an iPhone 11. It is a very powerful processor. What does your monitor need that for? That remains to be seen. There's only a couple of things it's doing that it would use that for. One is, hey, you know who, SIRI. So you can talk to the monitor. But, of course, it's still going to need a computer to do anything, I think. I don't know. We haven't seen them yet. I'm getting mine on in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's the understanding. And the website actually says you do have to have a compatible Mac connected to it.
So it's just listening. Okay. And then the other thing it's doing is the center stage feature, which is, you see it on some iPads, you see it on the newer Macintosh, where the camera centers on you and moves around depending on what is in focus. That's kind of cool, and that does need processing, so the monitor needs that. But I think there's more to this monitor. in the long run. The fact that you'd put that chip in there, unless you just had a warehouse full of them, and
Just like, throw it in.
yeah, throw it in. But maybe Face ID, maybe something else is coming down the road. We don't know.
That's what I was thinking. Was Face ID would be possible.
It is. So it's a good monitor. It's an expensive monitor, as are all Apple monitors. It's $1,500, and now that comes with a stand. You can. For the same price, actually $1,600. For the same price, you can get it without a stand and mount it on an arm. Or for $400 more, you can get a swivel arm. Probably be smart not to get the swivel arm. Get the Visa mount, which means no stand, and buy a $200 arm, which means then you'd have much more flexibility about monitor placement if that was an issue for you. But I think it's a good monitor. It also has, it's interesting, a little shelf on the stand. That's where your Mac Studio goes, and that kind of turns it into an iMac. In fact, you can power the monitor from the Mac Studio or the Mac Studio from the monitor, either way. So you still only have one plug going into the wall, right? The new monitor does give you a few ports, not probably as many as you might want if you bought a docking station or something like that. But it's an Apple monitor. It's more, maybe twice as much as a equivalent Dell would be, but it's more tuned to the Apple technology. I bought one for my wife because she's a very nice person and deserves the very best. So she's getting a new Mac Studio and a new monitor to go with it, which will replace an iMac. And not as old as yours, but a 2014 iMac that does not go to Monterey and needs to be updated. So I think this is very typical of Apple. They sell a premium product for people who want to stay in the Apple ecosystem. It's actually, in a way, atypical. They stopped selling monitors for a long time. The Cinema Display was years ago. They stopped selling that. They only had recently added the XDR display, the $6,000 monitor, and now they have a $1,500 monitor. It's still 5K. It's Retina. It's 5120 by 2880, 600 nits. Pretty bright.
It's brighter than quite a few
monitors.
Similar monitors.
Yeah. P3, which means it's got the full color range that you want. They call it gamut that you want. So that's nice. It's appropriate for. You said you do for some photography, so it's appropriate. Or music. You said you do.
Actually, yeah, music.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but if you were a photographer, this would be a sensible choice.
Well, I'll probably still do some video editing on some older videos I have, and anything that comes along now, any work I do now that I'm retired here in Vegas, semi-retired, not completely retired.
No one ever fully retires these days. So the monitor I bought prior to this also has tilt height pivot. It's DC IP3 95% color gamut, HDR, which the Apple is not, USB Type-C, $550 from Dell. And it's 32 inches. It's slightly bigger. So
it doesn't put out as much power.
Right. You can't, it's not designed to be an all-in-one in effect. It's not, it's not much of a docking station. And it's not going to, if, Apple has True Tone, this kind of adjusts, and that's probably why the A13's in there as well. It's adjusting to the ambient light so that it kind of, fits the ambient light. And it has these extra little, features, including a camera, which the Dell does not have. So,
and speaker-wise, I have an old set of Altec Lansings with a subwoofer, but I was thinking maybe of upgrading to a reference monitor. But if these Apple speakers would be, they have Atmos and everything else with it, that they're
not going to sound as good as the Altec Lansings. Let's not go crazy, but they're going to sound pretty good. I mean, this also confirms my contention that it's the new iMac, because the iMac had speakers and a camera, and normally a lot of monitors don't have speakers and cameras. This is making, when you pair this with the Mac Studio, now you've got all the features of the iMac.
In fact, a lot of the rumor mongers, they thought that this was the next iMac, and so a lot of the rumors that went out there about a new iMac,
they were confused.
It was actually the Studio display the whole time.
Yeah, they were confused, and I like it that they put the Studio fits into that little tray. That's kind of elegant, but a lot of times people buy iMac-sized devices to hide them anyway. They don't necessarily have them on the desk. You might on this one because of all the ports and because of the SD card reader and all of that. The Studio display has 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports. So actually Thunderbolt 3. I apologize. They're not Thunderbolt 4.
Yeah, the whole thing is Thunderbolt 3.
That's interesting.
That makes it work with the Macs that Apple has available right now.
Well, 4 would have too. The real problem is that 4 chips are very short supply. Talk about supply shortage. In fact, if you look at companies that are making Thunderbolt 4 docks, like that CalDigit TS4 dock, they can't make enough of them because they just can't get the chips for T4. So while you would prefer Thunderbolt 4 on this, Apple probably couldn't get the chips, which means maybe next year there'll be a T4 version of this monitor. I wouldn't be surprised. I think I would say probably my recommendation is not to buy it. You can get something better for less. Get a better camera that's separate, etc. Unless you want that iMac experience where it's all kind of elegantly integrated. If you're a typical Apple fan.
Oh, I am, but you're not making it easy on me.
Yeah.
Knock me down off the cliff.
Yeah. Well, if I were to sell you on it, I would say it's interesting. It has this iOS capable chip in it. I mean, it could be an iPhone if it wanted to be. I don't know if Apple will do that. That's a little big to carry.
The technology down the road.
It's possible, but it's always risky to buy something based on technology down the road. You already have very good speakers, so you don't really need the high-fidelity 6-speaker system with voice-canceling woofers. Boy, it's a tough one for me, too. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I don't know. Let's see. It's only one Thunderbolt 3 and 2 USB-C, which I also think is a little weird, to be honest with you. It's like,
but if you've got the Mac Studio, then you've got a whole bunch more ports.
Yeah,
so
but
you consider both.
It's a weird pairing of this A13 and a limited number of ports is bizarre. I think
that's fair. I mean, the A13 and the iPhone.
So spend the money. If you got the money, you're only going to save. I would say if you put together, which I did for my wife, this LG monitor, which is an equivalently good monitor, plus a Brio camera, plus some speakers, I'm now closer to $1,000. Unfortunately, I already bought all that stuff. But I'll just take it from her. We have plenty of uses for it.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a nice, elegant look. I even bought her the $400 pivoting thing.
Because I have 2 other monitors. I actually have an RCA TV that's hooked up. I could do that to the HDMI port. And I have a Samsung 23-inch LCD, which has been very good. It's a little old, but it's doing well. And it's DVI, so I'd have to get a DVI to...
Okay. If you don't have a monitor, get this monitor.
Yeah.
This will be better than any of that.
Okay.
Seriously better. Like, significantly better. That's $5K for one thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate it.
Spend the money, Kevin.
Yeah, I got money in my retirement.
There you go. It's only a few $100 more, and I think it's going to be much more interestingly integrated into the Apple. I think it's going to be kind of cool. Don't get the nano texture glass. You don't need that.
I've got a HomePod. I've got a AirBuds Pro. I've got.
By the way, HomePod is another interesting thing. This has more power than an Apple TV. This could be a HomePod hub. This could be a hub for Apple's HomeKit. It's not currently, but it has all that capability. So one wonders, does not one?
Yes. Yeah. Well, like I say, I've got everything and an iPad Pro that I use for music.
Get this monitor. You want to be, if you're in the ecosystem that hard, you should do it.
Yep.
I won't. I'm actually giving my wife that, and I'm going to take the LG for something else because it should all look nice and beautiful on the desk.
Okay. Well,
enjoy.
That's where I'm going to go.
Buy it.
Thanks so much, Leo.
All right, Kevin. Take care.
Thanks.
God, I hope I'm right.
I think you are. I think you are.
I hope I'm right.
I hope I'm
right. Well, I hate to spend people, but it might be a false economy. It's only a few $100, and in terms of long range satisfaction, every time he looks at it, it's just going to look.
I used my Thunderbolt display for years after I got it originally.
It's going to look like an iMac.
Yeah.
It'll be beautiful. That LG is gorgeous, I got to say. It's a really nice monitor. LG makes nice panels. Frankly, they probably make the panel for the Apple, right, Scott?
I wouldn't know, but it's likely. There aren't very many panel makers, raw panel makers in the world.
And the LG has a Type-C, It has display in. It has 2 HDMI in. It has 2 USB 3.2s. It's got a headphone jack. I mean, it's got
a headphone jack.
Yeah, so you could. Well, that's so you could run a speaker system off of it.
Oh, right.
So and which you'd probably be better off, especially since he has those Altec Lansings. So I don't know. I just don't know, man.
Oh man!
And it has the tilt and height.
Yeah, which you have to pay how much extra on the?
Yeah,
on
$400.
the
$400.
Oh,
and
geez.
you can rotate it to 90 degrees. You can run it in portrait mode, which Lisa says I would never do. So never mind. But I might for programming. It's exactly what you want.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know. It has AMD FreeSync as well as the. Oh no, it doesn't have NVIDIA G-Sync. Yes, sir.
You can't rotate the tilt. You can only rotate the Visa.
No, you're talking about the Apple monitor. I'm talking about the LG monitor. You can rotate it. Never mind. I know you cannot rotate the Apple thing, but you can the LG. Yeah, portrait mode, unless you get a Visa mount. All right, all yours.
Thank you. So nice to see you all. I put in the chat room the links to the Arting's variable refresh rate and input lag or latency, which includes a description of what it is and how they test for it, and a list of the TVs that have low input lag in that case, and in the case of variable refresh rate, which ones support which ones, because there are several. As we've talked about, there's AMD FreeSync, there's NVIDIA G-Sync, there's HDMI VRR, which is yet a third one. I think it seems to me that AMD FreeSync is the one, unless you're on a computer with an NVIDIA graphics card, in which case you will obviously want NVIDIA G-Sync. Thank you, Chickenhead21. We are doing very well here in Santa Cruz, still unpacking. But that's not really a surprise. It took us months to pack, so not surprising it's taking weeks to unpack. But we're having a grand old time here. And the Sue the Writer, good to see you. You're in Vegas. I hope all is well there. Oh, my sister was in the chat room, but she just quit out. Too bad. I was going to say hi. When you see Scott Sis in the chat room, that will be her. So let's see. What else can we... Let's see. Keith 512, don't need to worry about speakers. You don't use them when podcasting. Well, that's true. You would want to use headphones for podcasting. And Beatmaster says that Sony firmware update, now their TVs, I guess, some of them anyway, support G-Sync as well. So if you're using a computer with an NVIDIA graphics card. Oh, Twisted Mister brought up a really interesting question I don't know the answer to, which is if you turn on game mode, does that disable local dimming? Assuming that your TV has local dimming, which I've talked about before, the LEDs behind the screen are grouped into zones, and each zone can be brightened or dimmed independently, which gives you better contrast. It's a much better image overall. But is that part of the processing that gets disabled when you go into game mode? I would hope not, because I would think that you'd want local dimming when playing a video game, because I imagine, I'm not a gamer, so I don't know for sure. Those of you who are gamers can help me out. But I would assume that there might be some imagery in various games in which there's some dark areas in the picture and some bright areas in the picture. And if that's the case, then you certainly want local dimming. How much processing does local dimming take? It takes some, certainly, because it's got to evaluate the incoming image. And it's got to say, okay, here's a dark part, here's a bright part. I got to dim these LEDs and brighten these LEDs. So that's got to take some time. Some milliseconds, I should say. So I don't know. That's a really good question. Key 43 had asked, didn't understand frame interpolation and how that would help. Well, 120 hertz, and that relates to the question of why do 120 hertz? Well, for one reason, I think aren't there some games at 120 hertz? I think Leo mentioned you could have HD at 120 or 4K at 60. And I myself would probably opt for HD at 120. Again, I'm not a gamer, but the higher frame rate gives you smoother, more sharper motion without blur, with less blur. But it also frame interpolation at 120 hertz lets you do what that does is it synthesizes frames, new frames between existing frames in the signal. Now that sharpens up motion, but it also introduces an artifact called soap opera effect, which is the dreaded soap opera effect, which makes things look kind of like they were shot on cheap video or old style video, and like a soap opera. And so some people don't like it, and so they turn it off. But if you don't like it and you turn it off, then there isn't much need for 120 hertz if you're watching movies and TV and not playing games. If you're playing games, then it's important because some games will do 120 hertz. But even if they don't, if you get a TV with a variable refresh rate, then you can vary up to 120 hertz, which could be good in modern games. So there you go.
Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. It's time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, all that jazz. Kevin really wanted us to talk him into buying the I'm helping Micah become the next tech guy. So here's a little hint.
Okay.
You have to listen for what people want you to tell them, right? He wanted me to say, oh, gosh, it's the best monitor ever. You're going to love it. Well, what did you get?
Studio.
The Apple Studio Display.
Yeah.
And the fat.
I have what's coming to me.
The thick Mac.
Yeah, a Mac Studio with the M1 Max. It's the base model, except I got a terabyte of storage instead of the 512 by default.
Yeah,
this has 2 terabytes.
You need a terabyte.
So I needed at least a terabyte. Yeah. And then the Studio Display. I originally was going to get it with the VESA mount. However, because I wanted to make sure that we could have it on launch day, I went with the standard ARM, and that's fine because what I use at home stays within that range of the standard ARM. So the Studio Display comes on March 18th on the launch date, and my Mac Mini, because of that terabyte of customization, is due sometime between now and April 1st. Hopefully that's not an April Fool's Day joke. And
that's the other thing. And again, I think this is supply chain shortage.
Yeah.
8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. 888-827-5536 is toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada if you want to call and talk high tech with us. Anything with a chip in it, including, it turns out, that Apple monitor, which has a pretty hefty microprocessor in it. That's to me, the big question mark is, why did they do that? I opened the show an hour ago. I didn't really go into the details on the Apple event. I don't know.
You did on MacBreak Weekly.
I think if people care about it, they know already. But there's a new iPhone SE, the 5G iPhone SE. There's a new iPad Air, which is really a lot more like the Pro, which we kind of thought it would be. It's got an M1 chip in it. It's got a Type-C connector, not Thunderbolt, but Type-C USB connector. And then, of course, these new Macs, which I think is pretty exciting. They look like swole-up old Mac Minis. They're a little fatter.
Yes, they're
not quite twice as tall.
Nearly twice as tall, with some ports on the front, a lot of ports on the back. I do have to say I'm a little offended that you didn't mention the new green iPhones, which
Micah likes green iPhones. Okay, all right. Actually, to me, the most exciting thing is this M1 Ultra chip, which Apple announced. They said, I think this is sort of true. No one noticed we have a secret feature in our M1 chips, which is what's called an interconnect. In computing, when you have two devices talking to one another, they do it over an interconnect. And apparently they built in, but not revealed, the fact that the M1 chips have an interconnect, which allows them, we all thought they'd do this. We just didn't know they had the hardware to do it built in. Allows them to connect multiple chips or multiple dies in sequence. So you can have an M1 Ultra, which is really two M1 chips, kind of like Intel does with their Core Duo, and they have quad core and now and so forth. I don't say core though because of the way Apple does it. The die has RAM on it. The die it's really a system on a chip, everything on that one chip-like thing. Might as well call it a chip, but the processor's in there, but a lot of other stuff. And so what they have now is two die, so they can double the amount of memory because they have enough memory for two. They can, because the connection is so fast, faster than Intel's interconnect, they can act as one. So I think Apple really kind of showed their stuff, their engineering stuff, on Tuesday with this new Ultra chip. I think it's very, very impressive. And Intel is going to say, as they have already, oh, we could be that fast. But what they also should mention is in order to be that fast, we have to use 3 or 4 times the power, which means hotter, which means it often can't run that fast unless you have special cooling. By the way, these Fat Macs have special cooling.
Special cooling, yeah. The M1 Ultra version has a copper heat sink built in that's very, because people are going, why is that one so much more heavy?
It's 2 pounds heavier.
It's 2 pounds
Same
heavier
size.
because of the copper heat sink.
Yeah, it's only aluminum in the M1 Max. Aluminum. So now we have M1, M1 Pro, M1 Max, and M1 Ultra. I think they should have made it MAX. X.
No, 2 X's.
Max. Anyway, I don't. If you're not interested in Apple stuff, this is boring. So that's why I didn't want to spend too much time on it. It's interesting, though. I think they're firing on all cylinders. And if you are another chip manufacturer, AMD or an Intel or even NVIDIA, you got to start be thinking, wow, I wish we had some of them engineers.
Them engineers.
Them engineers is good.
Let me write that down somewhere. Engineers.
Paige is on the line from Los Angeles. Hi, Paige.
Hi, Leo. Thank you.
Thanks for hanging on while we gabbed on and on. I apologize.
I just wanted to get your thoughts. I have 2 phone lines. I kept the phone number from my husband when he passed.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. And I have 2 Android phones.
So he had a cell phone.
Yes.
Okay, we're not talking landlines in any of the cases here.
No, they're both
cell lines. Okay.
Yes.
Same carrier?
Yes, I have a T-Mobile.
Okay. And you have 2 phones. So it's
Yep.
So each phone can have its own number.
Yes. I'm wondering, I have people who have iPhones, and I've been wondering about getting an iPhone as well as the Android, have one of each. And I don't know, is that, I know you do, but you do it for work. So is that...
Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Quite a few phones. I have accounts with all the carriers, several carriers.
Yeah.
T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, Ting, Mint Mobile. So that's 5. So that means I can have 5 phones at any given time working.
I'm rocking 2 lines, 2 phones.
But you don't need them, no.
Yeah.
In fact, thank goodness my wife understands. She's in the business, so it's okay. Because normally a spouse would say, you have 2 phones with 2 numbers. Why would that be? Why would that be? Who are you expecting to call from, buddy boy? But some people do this for business and personal life to separate. If you have a compelling reason to do it, I think you should. I'll tell you the big drawback for what you're proposing, and it's only because I live it, is some people will message me on Apple's platform, the Messages platform. I can't get those messages on Android.
Yeah.
And actually, there's one way I can do it, and I'll explain that in a bit, but it's really tricky. So I can get the Android messages on Apple, but even then I have to play a trick. I have to use Google's Android's messages, and I have to open a web page and save it on my iPhone as if that's the Google. It's just not a good. It's as if there is a big wall between the two, and this is not Google wanting to do this. This actually is Apple insisting, and we even know from leaked emails in the lawsuit they had that they know that if they didn't keep these this big barrier between the two, that parents would buy Android phones for their kids, cheap Android phone for their kids. It's what keeps people in the Apple ecosystem. So it's an anti-competitive thing. I wish Apple wouldn't do it, but they do. So that's the drawback. You will have then, though, you will be a blue bubble, which I know everybody wants to be a blue bubble. So when your iPhone friends message you, they'll be using that phone number, that iPhone phone number. The problem is and I have to do this, I have to carry both phones in case somebody messages me on the other number, which is a real pain in the behind.
Right. Yeah, right.
Unless you have a compelling reason for it.
No. I'd like to get an Apple Watch.
Oh, well, that's a good reason, actually.
But, yeah, is that enough? I don't know.
So the iPhone SE, $450, is a very nice phone.
Yeah.
And it's a relatively inexpensive iPhone. It has the same chip as the iPhone 13, so it's just as fast. It's a little bit smaller screen. Cameras aren't as fancy. But it's, in every respect, a very, modern iPhone. That's why they make it. I think it's a very good choice for people who don't want to spend a lot of money on an iPhone. But, you can have multiple. If all you wanted to do was have multiple numbers for business and work, you can do that on one phone. You brought up the single case where you really might want an iPhone and an Android phone, where you have people on both platforms and you want to respond to them.
Yeah. Someone tried to hook me into a text thread and couldn't.
Right.
My number came up red, which...
Yeah. Yeah. So that is a really strong reason to do that. But then you're going to have this problem where you have to check both messages on both phones.
Yeah.
It drives my daughter crazy because she has an Android phone, so she'll call me on Android and I don't answer because I don't have my Android phone with me. She said, "Why aren't you answering?" I said, "Well, call my iPhone." It's not a good thing. It's kind of nutty. You just iPhone, right, Micah? You don't.
So I have both. I do, and I have a line for both of them.
Oh.
Because I'm mostly on iOS and most of the people I talk to are on iOS, they use their iPhones. That's where most of the conversation happens. However, I do use that Android phone regularly because of this show, for one, and for all the
you want to keep up on it.
Got to make sure I know what's going on in Android land. But yeah, it's hard. You were talking earlier, you got to see what the person who's calling in wants. I don't know if you really want to be told that you want to run two different phones.
Well, I'm giving you the negative. Now, if you are willing to have a Mac that's on all the time, you can run something called Air Messages that actually puts it's because one of the nice things Apple does with messages is it works on the computer and the iPad and everywhere. So if you're all Apple, all your messages come in everywhere, and you can run this server on your Mac that will then forward it to your Android number. So you can. That's the one kind of way around this that you can have. That seems like a lot of work, right?
Yeah, and I'm Windows anyway.
Yeah. I said, boy, I don't know.
As fun as it can be, it also is unfun when you're having to
Honestly,
just juggle all of that.
This is intentional on Apple's part, and the right answer is get rid of Windows, get rid of Android, be all Apple. Everything will be wonderful, except for your poor friends on Android who you'll lose track of. They're going off in their own world.
I wondered about all kinds of mixing and matching.
It's hard. It's really hard to do.
Yeah.
I do it because I have to. There's lots to like about Android. I don't want to give up Android. In fact, when I get this new iMac, that's one of the things it's going to do is run Air Messages in the background. So I will be able to get. So then if I went, right now, if I leave the house with one phone, I'm going to miss half my messages. That's not good. And calls too.
No.
I don't care about calls. Yeah, that's not good. So really the real question is are you willing to carry and check two phones at all times?
Okay. Yeah. Have to think about that.
That's the drawback. There's lots of benefits, but that's the drawback.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I didn't help you at all, did I? I feel terrible. Thank you, Paige.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I read online about it, and
This is why I'm here. This is why Mike and I are here, because we can really boil it down to what your experience will be, and that's what your experience will be.
Yeah.
And then,
All right.
and then now you at least have that information, and you can make what is a tough decision. You obviously really want to talk to your friends on Apple's messages.
Yeah.
It makes me mad. I mean, if Apple wanted to, they could make messages that would run on Android, and it would solve this problem. They just don't want to. They want to make you buy an Apple device.
Yeah. Well,
sigh.
Well, maybe it'll lean me over to the Apple side if I did it.
Yeah. Well,
Slowly.
Guess what? That's exactly what Apple wants.
They're trying to do. Yeah.
Yeah, but I like Windows. I mean, I know Windows.
Yeah.
I don't know Apple.
Right. I completely sympathize.
Yeah.
I completely sympathize.
If the ultimate goal here is, it sounds like the Apple Watch, you kind of brought it in there, but that does sound like something that you really are, desiring.
The next, so the next step is just to get an iPhone and get rid of the Android phone. That'll still work. All the people who want to message you on Android will use that number, and it'll come in on messages. Messages works with SMS, so it's completely cross-platform. The trouble is having two devices and two platforms. If you pick the Apple platform, then you get the benefit of both. You get text messages from Android, and you'll get, but don't have two numbers. Have one number. You don't have. You can keep your husband's number and not discontinue it, but you can suspend it so you don't pay for it.
Oh.
I think. Well, you might pay for it actually, but you won't pay much. You pay less for it.
I was just thinking,
Call
you
the
could
carrier.
also just use one iPhone and just have the dual SIM setup.
Yeah, you can have both numbers on it.
If you talk to your carrier about the dual SIM setup.
Actually, that's a good solution. Then you'll continue to get text messages from your Android folks. You'll have iMessages for all the rest.
And you'll be able to use the Apple Watch like you mentioned.
There you go.
Yeah.
Dual SIM.
Dual SIM.
We'll include a link to talk about that for the iPhone.
Yeah, the iPhone will do it with an eSIM and a regular SIM. So you take your regular SIM out of your Android phone, put it in the iPhone, and you're done. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, with Micah too. No, I'm not giving Apple a pass. I'm saying that specifically. But I mean, it's if you want to punish Apple, fine. But we got to also live in the real world where some people want to use Apple. I mean, honestly, everybody should be using open source everything. I got an open source Linux phone. I wouldn't want to use it full time. I'm a fan of open source in general. I don't think Windows or Microsoft or Apple are very user-friendly. No ads, just the content. That's what you get when you join Club Twit. You even get extras like Twit Plus, our new bonus feed just for members, and exclusive access to the Club Twit Discord community. Join now for just $7 a month and support Twit as we continue to create top-notch podcasts you expect and deserve. We're just getting started, so be one of the first to join as we build Club Twit from the ground up. You could be an early member. Go to twit.tv/clubtwit to learn more and sign up now. Thanks. Oh, yeah, Leo Laporte. Yeah, the tech guy. 88-esque. Leo, Micah Sargent, tech guy 2, in studio with me. Now you spoiled me when I do the Sunday show. I miss you.
Oh,
it's like, where's Micah?
I miss you too, pal.
Oh, no, you don't. You're happy to have a day off. I know you. Did we miss anything, speaking of missing, on relevant to the Apple event? I think we got it all.
Covered it all except
Green
I
iPhone.
guess Major League Baseball.
Deal. Yeah, they have baseball. 2 games on a Friday
night baseball.
Yeah. That's because they couldn't announce. They're trying hard to get NFL games, Sunday night games, but they weren't able to make the deal before the event, so they couldn't announce it. I'm sure they wanted to announce that on the Apple TV.
Oh, yeah, because that's been rumored for a long time.
Yeah.
It's going back and forth whether they'll have exclusive
expensive.
rights or not.
Yeah. 88, and of course they're bidding against Amazon. I think Amazon's going to win this one.
I think they might.
They got deep pockets. Well, of course, so does Apple. Amazon, Apple. Who would you pick in a cage match?
I think. Oh man, I was gonna say Apple, but I think that there's a little bit too much for the good of the world there that Amazon doesn't
Amazon's
have.
bloodthirsty.
They would throw
They're
some
cutthroat.
dirt in your eyes,
And notice I didn't say Tim Cook versus Jeff Bezos because Bezos easily wins that one. But see, because he retired, he's been lifting. He's on his yacht
Is that your plan? Get a yacht?
Yeah, get a
start
yacht.
lifting?
Get a trainer there. He's got a trainer living with him. Probably also, telling him what to eat. He's lifting all the time. Why, Jeff? You're one of the richest men in the world. You don't need to be buff. He just wants to be, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, good health, right?
That's not necessarily.
You don't have to be buff to have good health,
to
but
have good health.
you're sort of just,
It's because he wants to look good.
Oh.
Lewis on the line from Hollywood. Hello, Lewis.
Mr. President.
Hello. The vice president is in the house as well. Yes, the whole government.
Before my question today, Leo, I just want to let your listeners know whether they're interested in Apple products or not. If they want to enjoy some really wonderful tech reporting, they should watch the Twit News coverage of the Apple.
Oh, thank you.
They should fast and forward to the announcement of...
Hang on. Got to take a break. Johnny Jet coming up. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I'm firing this hot clock.
Timing a little off.
A little bit off there. So that hot clock getting fired. I thought I'd fixed it. I was wrong. Sorry about that, Mr. Lewis. I apologize.
That's all right, sir.
But I'm going to let you say those nice things now.
Well,
because it's the podcast audience, so they'll appreciate it.
I just wanted people to know that they should, if they watch that Twit coverage, they should fast forward to the announcement of the M1 Ultra processor just to see Leo hyperventilate with joy.
Oh, was I jumping up and down? Normally, I try to sit on my hands for stuff like that.
I thought your ball was going to break again.
Yeah, I was very, and I still am, impressed.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
I'm sure I'll get it, and then I'll go. See, part of the problem now, Apple's had this problem with the iPad for some time, and even the iPhone. It's too fast. It's faster than you need.
Yeah.
It's like overkill, and we kept saying with the iPad Pro, well, when is software going to take advantage of all this? And it hasn't. I mean, I don't know. Can a computer? This is actually an interesting question. Can a computer be too fast? I mean, I guess it can. What
does that mean, though?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of headroom. So with even an M1 Max, let alone the Ultra, you'd be very hard pressed to tax it. It's only specialists, people like Alex Lindsay doing photogrammetry, that are going to tax that thing. Anything most people do is not even going to break. The thing's not going to break a sweat. It's just going to. So it's got a lot of more power than you need.
I was thinking if you put just a couple of more of those chips together and stick them in a robot, you got Commander Data.
Well, in fact, that's one of the things Apple's doing that's very interesting. 32 neural cores.
Yeah.
Why?
I think a lot of modern OSs are really relying on the sort of artificial intelligence to fill in where the chips are there was, I think, Intel actually who had talked about how they're using AI to fill in the gaps where CPUs and GPUs just can't yet. So we're going to continue to see that, I think, as every part of the processing that you're doing, every little thing you do on the computer has some AI magic thrown into the mix.
Yeah.
Do you want me to save my question till after Johnny, or should
It's going to be a while. Do you mind?
Not at all.
Hang on.
Okay.
Thank you, Lewis. You're very kind. What'd you say, John? Yeah?
I'm starting to get there.
He's been everywhere, my friends. He is our travel guru, Johnny Jet, the one, the only. JohnnyJet.com is his website. He's back from Oahu, tanned, rested. You're our golden boy. Welcome home, Johnny Jet.
It's nice to be back.
Yeah, you had a good time.
I wouldn't mind still being there.
Hawaii's wonderful. You prefer, of all the islands, you prefer Oahu?
Well, because I have kids, it's easy. There's a good hospital there. God forbid, there's restaurants. In walking distance, you don't need to rent a car.
Yeah.
The resorts, you shouldn't have to spend so much money at resorts on their food. So I like that. And I also love the other side of Oahu.
If it's just the two of you, if it's just you and Natalie, maybe you'd go to Lanai or something.
If I had the money, I'd go to Four Seasons Lanai.
Yeah, me too.
Right there.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. Who needs a yacht?
Story.
If you've got 4 seasons lanai, you don't need anything else in life.
Yeah, that's where you want to be. But anyway, we were at the Ritz-Carlton Waikiki, which is awesome.
Well, that
in the
sounds
Hilton
pretty
Hawaiian
nice.
Village.
Yeah.
Both great.
Yeah.
Especially the Ritz-Carlton, they have washers and dryers in your room.
Oh.
I mean, that makes all the difference in the world.
We got to stay there next time. That sounds really nice.
Full-size
Is that on
apartment.
Waikiki?
Yeah, it's a 7-minute walk from the beach. I walked from the Hilton to the Ritz-Carlton. I was probably the only person ever to check in at the Ritz with both my bags that I walked from another hotel to.
What are you doing, man, walking?
Yeah.
So what's up in the travel world these days?
So a couple of things. Last week we talked about the Airbnbs, people booking them for Ukraine, and then this week it came out that might not have been such a great idea unless you're really drilled down, because some of these Airbnbs were owned by Russians and big companies. So you really have to drill down and make sure that you're supporting the Ukrainians. So do that before just
don't just throw your money at. Yeah, that's always the case, isn't it? Right.
And this whole thing with Ukraine obviously is a huge mess for travel. 60% of airspace is cut off, so flights are being rerouted. A lot of flights are being canceled. United canceled their India flights because they flew over Russia.
Really?
A lot of airlines have adjusted. And, the TSA extended their federal mask mandate by only a month, which means it's most likely going to end.
Yeah, but they
April
did
18th.
extend it. That's important. In April, to April anyway. So that's interesting. I wonder why they decided to extend it.
I just think they want to make sure, there's a new variant, or I don't know if it's new, but it's in the UK, and I just saw yesterday that, it's up 30% from last week, so that's a little sketchy. And I think they're just trying to make sure, because once you take it off, it's hard to put it back in. And So, but I spoke to the flight attendants I flew Hawaiian Airlines home. By the way, row 12 is the greatest.
Row 12?
Row 11 and 12 on their A330 is the greatest coach seats.
Okay.
You have to pay $89 to $119, I think, extra. But man, if you're a couple, you want the window and the aisle in row 11, because it's your own cabin, row 11 and 12.
Oh, there's no one else around, huh?
No, and 3 people in front of us didn't show up, so I literally had 2 people within 6 feet of me.
Oh, that's good. I like that. Yeah.
Definitely.
Social distancing on an airplane. Unheard of.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
But and speaking of Hawaii, all the airlines have really good fares right now for April and May. I mean, $119 from the West Coast, most cities, Southwest, $237 from LA. This is including taxes. So just make sure you check the hotel prices before you book your flights, because that could be a lot more money, especially in places like Maui where they're really getting top dollar. But the flight attendants, by the way, seems they can't wait for this mask mandate to end. I think most of them, except some of the unions, because there's so many fights going on and
over masks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Over 60% of the fights are because of masks. But it's going to end. I think it's going to end.
Who would get on an airplane thinking they didn't have to wear a mask? It's so everybody knows, right? Or maybe not. Maybe you just
they know. They know.
They know.
They definitely
They just
know.
want to make it a deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And some flight attendants, they're very lenient. They don't enforce it.
Well,
unless
now
the
I bet they
passenger has
will,
to.
since it's going to probably only be another month. They might just say, fine.
Yeah.
But don't get on an airplane expecting not to wear a mask. You still have to for another month, at least.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Breeze Airways, have you heard of them? They're a startup. I talked about them 6 months ago when they began. Anyway, they just announced they're going to launch from San Francisco and Los Angeles. So you can fly nonstop on an A220 to Richmond, Virginia, to Charleston, South Carolina, to Louisville, and to San Bernardino here in California. From San Francisco, from LA, they're going to fly to Providence, Norfolk.
So they're
Virginia,
focusing
and Savannah.
on the kind of the smaller routes that the big airlines don't want.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And these aircrafts, they're single-aisle aircraft. They only hold about a little bit more than 100 people, but they have really good airfares, $99 each way.
Oh, wow.
They also have first class on this one.
So you think they'll have San Francisco to Providence? Because then I could go visit Mom.
No, it's LA to Providence,
Oh.
But eventually I think they will. Let's just see how this. I think they're going to roll it out. So this is the same founder as JetBlue.
Oh, I love
David
JetBlue.
Neeleman.
Yeah.
And so he left. He started 5 different airlines. Azul in Brazil. I mean, and all of them have taken off. He's like a serial startup.
Nice pun there, by the way. Thank you. Wow, it's interesting. That's his thing. Is I start airlines. I leave. I start another one. I leave. Interesting.
So all these airline prices are going to go up because of gas. The fuel's going up. So if you're going to travel, now's the time to start buying, especially for the spring. You might want to hold off on fall right now to see what happens. I didn't
even think of that, but jet fuel probably is going up as much as gasoline, petrol.
Definitely. It's definitely going up. So,
and does that? How quickly do the airlines build that into their pricing?
I think it all depends. They used to hedge. Like 5 years ago, the airlines would hedge their fuel. They haven't done it, which I'm sure they're kicking themselves right now because
they probably thought we wouldn't have another fuel crisis.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever been higher. So, I mean, just think about how much it costs to fill up your tank here in California. I think it's almost $6 a gallon.
I'd forgotten about the old Arab fuel crisis we had in 1973. I watched last night a movie that's nominated for Best Picture, Licorice Pizza, that takes place in that era. And in fact, that's kind of a big part of the plot is running out of gas and having to figure out where you can get it because the pumps are closed in the San Fernando Valley. There's nowhere to get gas. But then it still was only 40 cents a gallon. It's a little more expensive now.
Yeah.
A little bit.
But it's not like Europe. I remember going to Europe, before,
right.
Just 3 years ago, and the prices were...
Right. So if you book now, though, you can lock in the lower price.
Yeah, if they haven't already raised it. But like Breeze Airways, these are just startup fares. So whenever an airline starts a new route, they usually have a discounted fare.
They're going to lose money for a while. They know they are. By the way, Breeze has an app, which is also interesting. Like they want you to book on the app, I think.
They definitely want you to book on the app.
Isn't that interesting?
Most airlines rather you book on their app or on their website, so
they don't want you to call.
Avoid the third party.
Yeah,
they don't want you to call.
Yeah,
I don't even know if you can call with Breeze. Actually,
I
have not flown them yet. I hope to fly them on their when they start in June here in LA.
I like some of the places they go. I mean, Louisville's great, Charleston's great, Richmond, Tampa. When they get San Francisco to New Orleans, that's when I'm going to hop on board.
And they will because they have a base in New Orleans.
Yeah, that's when I'm hopping on board.
So,
les bon ton roulé. How fun. Now, if you want to keep track of all this stuff, Johnny has a number of newsletters at his website, johnnyjet.com. Here's the good news. They're all free. Other people in Johnny's position charge. And I think you're very generous. You really give everything away.
Well,
do you have a premium anything?
No, I don't. But
Johnny,
I did put a donate button on there for a while, especially during COVID when I was getting crushed.
Yeah. But subscribe to his newsletter. Newsletters. He's got fare newsletters. You can book airfare, get good air deals through his website too, and there's lots of good information. JohnnyJet.com. I'll meet you in Providence. We'll get
I'll be there.
We'll get
We'll go to Watch Hill.
A cabinet and a hoagie, and we'll go to Watch Hill. It'll be great. I can't wait. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you.
Johnny.
You've obviously been to Watch Hill. I mean, you grew up right near there, right?
I'm trying to remember what Watch Hill is.
So that's where Watch Hill, Rhode Island. It's right near Mystic, Connecticut. It's across the border. It's one of the greatest little beach towns. We used to go every summer. That's where we would go. Actually, Taylor Swift actually put it kind of on the map.
It's pretty.
5 years ago.
It's pretty.
She bought a monster house.
Oh, it's in Westerly. Yeah, I know where it is. Yeah.
So you stayed at the Ocean House, which is big.
Ooh. Okay.
This is where you want to take Lisa.
Yeah. We're going to go to the Ocean House and Watch Hill, and then we can visit Mom. We'll have to get a rental car so we could drive to Providence. It's not very far. I mean, everything.
No.
Yeah.
It's an hour.
Oh, the Watch Hill Inn? Is that what you're talking about? Or the Ocean House?
Ocean House.
Oh, man.
The Ocean House. The Ocean House is where you want to stay.
Okay.
And Sam, the lifeguard, I've known him for
Sam, the lifeguard.
years.
I'll say hi. Johnny Jet says hi. It's this cute Victorian. So this is from the era when the Gilded Age, when the millionaires are building these big old houses. Oh, look at that. That looks great.
Well, this was an old hotel that was...
Reminds me of the
My mom used to be
Coronado.
afraid to stay there.
The Hotel
It's a lot
Del.
like it.
Yeah.
This was haunted. But anyway, they tore it down. They were going to build, like, I don't know what they were going to build. But anyway, these big investors from New York came in and said, we're going to build the same exact replica, and we're going to make it luxury. And they kept it the same. So good for them, because everyone was all upset that they were tearing it down. And you get really good lobster rolls there, although they're not cheap.
I love a good lobster roll.
I do too.
Yep. Although they're a little rich for my blood. Maybe I'll just go with the clam roll. You have the lobster roll.
I got a quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
So I'm on the plane, and all of a sudden I feel like my laptop, the bottom of the base.
It's really hot?
It popped out.
Oh.
The screw, it popped out of the screw. The screw didn't pop out. The actual base popped out on one side, and then all of a sudden the other side popped out.
Your battery's swollen.
Battery expanding.
Yeah, battery's swollen. That's what that is.
So, I could feel like I think my son might have jumped on my laptop.
Check to see if it's hold it sideways and look to see if the battery's coming up, because if it is, then you want to stop charging it and replace it immediately, because otherwise you'll...
Same thing happened to me, Johnny, with an old MacBook Pro. The battery started expanding, and it did pop out even with the screws connected. So, yeah, you really want to even turn it upside down and sort of look at it from the side of the table.
Because if there's a little bump up, that's dangerous.
Very
dangerous. If it gets punctured, it'll burst into flame.
Great. So I actually have duct tape in my bag when I travel.
To hold it together? Let's get Johnny a new laptop. Can we get Johnny a new laptop?
I really love this laptop.
What kind of laptop is it?
HP.
Is it one of the? Is it an Envy? Is it really
the Spectra? The Spectra.
Oh yeah, those are super thin. That's exactly what's going on, because there's no room for that battery to expand in that thing.
And here I was going to say,
I had to have this thing looked at.
Fixed, but okay.
The new ones are great. I love what you're talking about. I had one too.
I really love it.
No, it's thin. It's beautiful. Did you get the coppery one?
Yes.
Beautiful.
It is.
So
beautiful.
they have
My
new
wife,
ones.
She's like, what?
No, they have new ones.
But this is 4 years old. This is probably 4 years old.
Yeah. The battery's expanding, and there's no room in there for that. That's a very thin.
So I got to get rid of it.
Yeah.
It is a safety hazard, absolutely.
Or get it repaired.
If it's the battery, then yes, it's, whatever you want to do, you want to do it as quick as possible.
Well, just don't charge it anymore. You can't use it.
My battery only lasts like 40 minutes without a...
Well, there you go. Yeah, you got a bad...
Take the battery out and see if you can plug it in and use it, and you might be able to just continue to use it plugged in without the battery. The battery's the problem. If you can get the battery out, you're all right.
All right. I'm glad.
And you can get a replacement battery. Go to iFixit.com, look up that model, and get a replacement battery.
What is it again? HP what?
HP.
It's a Spectra. I mean, it's a T. It's I think T360. I don't. I'll hold on. We got to talk to you later, Johnny. Hold on, man. Hey, what's going on with my music?
Oh, this is. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Are you playing this off a record, Professor Laura? It's a little scratchy. You might want to get your disc washer out. Put 3 drops of solution on it. Let it rotate gently underneath the disc washer. Get rid of some of that dust in the grooves. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Isn't that funny? We don't do that anymore. We don't need to. You got a little dust in the bits. You want to clean, shake out the iPhone. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Lewis is still on the line. He's a very patient man. Thank you for hanging on, Lewis. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, Leo.
You said nice things about us, so I appreciate your using your question time to be complimentary, so thank you.
Leo, until recently, I used to use a wonderful piece of software for recording audio as it was streaming over my Mac. It was from Audio Hijack, and it was called Rogue Amoeba.
Rogue Amoeba is the company. Yeah, an Audio Hijack.
But in order to run Audio Hijack on my M1 Mac Mini, Rogue Amoeba wants me to install something called ACE Audio Handling Component by enabling reduced security on my Mac. And to me, this does not sound like a really good idea. So if you agree with that, do you have a recommendation for an app to replace Audio Hijack?
Well, first of all, Rogue Amoeba, longtime Mac developers, you can trust them.
Okay.
So it depends what they mean by reduced security. There's one simple thing, and it would surprise me that you would have to do this with anything from Rogue Amoeba, which is that Apple doesn't. Did you get the pop-up that says, I can't scan this for malware?
No.
No.
It when you try and install.
Oh, I know what they're doing. Okay, so this is, they need to install a kernel, a little kernel driver.
Exactly.
Yeah, because what they're doing isn't supported by Apple's built-in frameworks for audio.
Right.
And anything that does what you apparently want to do, are you routing audio and doing?
No, just events that aren't going to be podcasts later. I'm just recording.
They're streaming, and you want to record them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure there's ways to do that without installing a kernel driver. Apple, by the way, doesn't like you to do this. That's why they say you're reducing security. If it were coming from a rogue third party, a real rogue, then you would be absolutely be a mistake. But because it's from Rogue Amoeba, it's okay. But I agree with you. I don't like to do that. I'm worried about not merely security, but performance issues and so forth. These kernel extensions, Apple has changed how they work. Are you on Monterey, the latest Mac OS?
I'm on Big Sur on an M1.
Yeah, and I'm wondering... Yeah, you probably, I think you don't want to do that. So let's find a way, because if you were doing the very fancy stuff that Audio Hijack Pro does, which allows you, for instance, you've got a Zoom call going on and you want the audio from that to go into recorder and then go into your headphones, and it does all this fancy stuff, then you would probably need this kernel extension. But you're not. You just want to, do you want to record audio and video or just record the audio?
Just the audio's fine. I don't need video.
Because there's a very good program. In fact, Andy Anako recently recommended it on our Mac Break Weekly show for recording anything streaming offline. But it records the video and the audio. I guess you could, at that point, just separate out the audio if you want. It might be easier, frankly, to do that. Let me go to our MBW Picks page. I know you're doing that probably right now, Micah, just to see. Because I remember Andy recommended it a few weeks ago. Because he uses it to record exactly what you're doing, basically, was to record stuff.
Anything that I know is not going to be podcast later. So.
Yeah. And there, by the way, just should mention that the reason, that's a switch you could put on YouTube or anywhere that streams to say, don't let people download this. You are downloading it to watch it. You're doing that.
Right.
But that's because those companies don't want you to save it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't have a problem with you doing it, but you should be aware of you're kind of using these tools to kind of bypass what's going on, what the company has requested of YouTube.
Right.
As long as you don't have a problem with it, I don't have a problem with it. You're not selling it. You're not making DVDs and putting them out.
I'm not even sharing it. It's just for me.
Yeah. What is it? Was it a YouTube ripping program?
Oh, Downey.
Was it Downey? It was Downey. Downie.
Yeah, the problem with Downey is I have Downey.
Oh.
But it only works for if you have to drag the URL into Downey.
Right.
And so you can do it for it'll work with YouTube and other things that are there, but it doesn't seem to work with live streaming.
I'd like to read some details from Rogue Amoeba itself, because there are two things that it talks about. And it says, ACE is actually a standard audio plugin. It is not a kernel extension. However, it receives enhanced privileges to access your system's audio. So Apple uses their existing kernel extension verification system to do this.
That I have no problem with that. So you're not installing a kernel extension, which doesn't surprise me. Apple really didn't like that, and they've deprecated that over the last few Mac OSs. I wouldn't be surprised if you couldn't do that at all. So it's not even doing that. It's just saying it wants to hook into the audio subsystem. I would say that's fine.
Okay.
I would say that is not a security concern at all, because they're using AudioKit, Apple's own kernel extension, to record the audio. They're not. Let me think of what. So if you use, do you know about VLC?
Yep.
VLC will let you listen to any stream. You can enter the URL in, and I believe VLC would let you record that, would it not? I believe, or save it rather, not record it, but save it. In effect, record it. Try VLC.
Okay.
It's free. It's cross-platform, Windows,
have
Mac.
VLC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great tool. You know that you can open any streaming URL in it and play it back. And I'm pretty sure it's a complex menu structure, so it might be hard to find, but I'm pretty sure there's a way to save it out from there.
I think I used to use VLC mainly to convert old real audio.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
MP4.
Yeah.
MP3.
So, but again, because Rogue Amoeba is a venerable and venerated long-time Apple developer, completely trustworthy, in my opinion, I wouldn't worry about it. If you've got it already, you already paid for it, continue to use it just fine. But I believe VLC will do what you want to do as well.
Great.
Yeah, VLC is one of those, thank you for calling, Lewis, and thanks for hanging on, too. I appreciate it. VLC is one of those, Swiss Army knife tools that everybody should probably have a copy of in their tool belt. Just looking at the chat room, see if I have any recommendations. There's other YouTube downloaders, things like that. Downey is a great YouTube downloader. If you've got Downey, you're pretty much set. But he wanted something that would record, like our stream when we talk about the Apple event and things like that. Somebody in our chat room, by the way, Mike, I should mention this to you. Golly, made a plug-in that puts our silhouettes on the Apple thing, just like Mystery Science Theater 3000.
No way.
Yeah. So I think we're going to use that next time.
That's really cool.
If you've never seen that show, that's the one where the robot and the various people are commenting on bad old movies, and they you could see them in silhouette sitting in the movie theater.
What's it a plug-in for?
I think it's a browser plug-in. I think that's what Galia does.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
Golly gee.
Galia.
So is that using computer vision to mask out the people?
I think it's just a cutout. That's the next step.
Okay, so
the next step, I think we need a silhouette of us.
Yeah.
Kind of our heads moving. And
let's get a green screen behind us.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of thing.
And we'll superimpose the studio for the people watching that way.
8888 Ask Leo, that's the phone number if you want to talk to me and Micah, or Micah and me, which would be more correct grammatically. Your generation, though, they love to put me first.
Not me.
Have you noticed that?
Not I.
Yeah, not I,
I was a copy editor for too long to be able to stand doing that improperly.
Website, techguylabs.com. It's free and open. That's where we put copies of the show, audio and video, transcripts, and links after the fact. techguylabs.com. This is episode 1875. Apple's gotten, and rightly so, I understand why, no podcast ads today. Thank you, Micah. Apple's gotten very protective, as they should, of their OS. And so you're going to get these secure, but the negative on that is you're going to get these security warnings a lot. And that's going to actually, I think, harden people.
For the typical user, especially, who's going, oh, God, reduce security. What does this mean?
Well, and then what happens is they start doing it willy-nilly because they go, well, but I want to use this. And, pretty soon you don't have any security anymore. So it's always a fine line between warning too little and too much. And Apple may have shifted to the too much. So Galia, how does that work? It's not a plugin, it's a web page. But you do have us moving once in a while. I see. Let me go find the image you posted. It's probably going to be way, way back. Where did you post it? Probably in the news, the Twit news feed, Twit events. It's really cool. Post if you have a link or something. I like it that it's animated. It does. I mean, that's as good as the real deal, really. Was it an event or was it news? I can never keep track.
I think it was. Oh God, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what our arbitrary naming. No, it was news. But anyway, I don't see it there. Maybe it was in Brickhouse. I don't know what. Oh, there it is. Thank you, Galia. So, see, there we are.
Oh, that's adorable.
Oh, actually, she's done it. That's very cool. So it's live right now. I could use it now.
Oh, that's so fun.
That's so cool. Oh, yeah.
And just light movements.
Yeah.
Wow.
Uh-oh. I don't hear anything. Are you making sounds, Laura? Whew. Shouldn't there be music or something? Oh, there it is. Did we break too early? No. Oh, this is something bad happening.
Oh, no.
Something horrible is happening.
It just keeps going.
Oh, no. We're shrinking. We're shrinking. We're shrinking. Oh, look. Somebody's geo searching. I don't know. Can you see it?
Heavens.
No, you can't see it. Heavens.
If they grab the geocache with the left hand.
A geocacher. Heavens. See that? So they're finding it, and now they're going to add to the logbook, and they're going to. I see that fairly frequently. Oh, that's so cute.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah. Isn't that cute? Patrick, another couple, this time a young couple, has found your geocache. So lovely. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the E-Tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, anything with a chip in it. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number, 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you can still call, but you have to use Skype out to reach us. Website, techguylabs.com. techguylabs.com. My partner in crime, Micah Sargent, in studio to help us answering your questions and so forth. You have to feel bad for the poor folks at Meta. Actually, everybody in the Silicon Valley area is coming back to work. Companies are saying back to work.
Bless their poor hearts.
Bless their poor hearts. Well, Meta employees are very upset. Facebook, same thing. Facebook's parent company says they'll no longer get free valet service and meals will be delayed. Lavish on-site perks, a thing of the past for employees at Facebook who will now have to do their own laundry due to company setbacks. Apparently, I think Google did this too. You just, they don't want you leaving.
Yes.
So you just bring your laundry to work. And you got free laundry, free dry cleaning, valet service. The daily free dinner is no longer at 6 p.m. It's at 6:30. Not sure why. Don't know why. This is from the New York Times. Headline, Facebook's parent company will make employees do their own laundry. And man, are they upset. The new dinner time actually is kind of an interesting thing. You know why they changed it by half an hour? Because the shuttle to take you home leaves at 6.
Okay, that's not.
So
basically, it encourages you to stay later if you're going to
Yes.
have the dinner instead of going home.
But then you have to sleep in your office because there's no shuttle. So what was happening apparently is that employees were swinging by the dinner, getting a to-go box, and getting on the shuttle and bringing them home. Why not? Let them.
Exactly.
You're making money. The changes, says the New York Times, could be a warning shot for employees at other companies that are preparing to return to the office. After 2 years of pandemic, Google, Meta, and others have long offered creature comforts like on-site medical attention, sushi buffets. Actually, Google's amazing. They have many different restaurants. So you can say, what do you want tonight? Sushi? Should we have Thai food? Candy stores, just like candy, just free candy. Beanbag chairs. I hope they don't cut back on the beanbag chairs. We knew
They're
when
just taking some beanbags out. They're taking a few beans out of the beanbags.
Yeah, that's it. 10% reduction in bean count. So it's not quite as comfortable. I do remember when I worked for a cable channel, Tech TV, 20 years ago. We knew the end was nigh when they stopped offering free oatmeal in the company kitchens.
Oatmeal of all things.
Free oatmeal. So as a result, notice John, do we still have free oatmeal here? We have free. We have
stuff, yeah.
we have oatmeal, cup of noodles. We even have the fancy, ramen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just your regular old
No. However, Mike, I'm sorry to say the shuttle bus is ended. No more shuttle. It's hard to get people to come back, and I don't blame them. If you found out over the last 2 years, and it's been exactly 2 years we sent employees home. People found out they could do their job at home. Why should they come in, especially with gas prices?
Right. That's the big thing right now.
Yeah.
Gas prices are even more expensive, and then you're asking them to come back at this time. And that is, I guess what I feel is you don't get to do both, or you shouldn't get to do both, which is they're asking, not here. I'm talking about, so for example, Facebook, they are inviting people to come back now, or they're telling people they have to come back. Why are they now lowering the amenities?
Oh, you're right.
Before?
Increase the amenities.
Yeah.
Give them a reason. Mm-hmm. Something to make up for the
let
fact
them work from home.
The gas is $6 a gallon.
Yeah.
Most engineers can programmers, coders, designers can and probably work better at home.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants,
people around
all
you,
those meetings,
blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
the time suck people who come around and start talking about, pickleball while you're trying to write the login code. It's just no fun.
Yeah.
So I understand that. But you better be coming in. That's all I can say. Just kidding. I completely understand that. It's a lot to ask. We've spoiled. Everybody's spoiled now. 8888 ask Leo. That's the phone number. Back to the phones we go. Kenny is on the line from Cottontown, Tennessee. Hello, Kenny.
Hello, Leo. Hello, Micah. How are you guys doing?
Doing
Great.
well, thank you. Hope you're doing well too.
What's up?
Well, I had two questions about Apple as far as the Mac Studio / display as well as Major League Baseball, but you guys kind of covered most of my topics.
See, we keep you on hold so long that all your questions get answered.
Questions will be answered by the end.
Most of them are, but there are still a few.
Good.
Kind of scratch up, but before I do that, I just want to say go Galaxy, go Bruins, and go Kings. All LA all the way, but since we are in that sports mindset with Apple and Major League Baseball, you guys kind of tuned in on Major League Baseball, and
strike is over, lockout is over. We're going to begin. It's coming back, which is good news for baseball fans. We're not going to miss any of our 162 games. Yikes.
Yeah, the only thing that I didn't like about the presentation was one was quick. I would have expected like Bob Costas to come out and say, well, let's take a look at the DL list. Why don't we go down the field and ask Siri? Along the line,
it's so annoying. I don't know if you've noticed this in NFL games where they have little Siri blipverts, little short advertisements where they say, hey, who led the league in running, rushing TDs or whatever. And it's so annoying. Now, I don't know how. They do it somehow so it doesn't actually trigger Siri, thank goodness. But it's still annoying, I feel like they want to trigger Siri, but Apple won't let them. Like Apple's saying, no, There was briefly a Burger King ad, I don't know if you remember this, that triggered Google to look up on Wikipedia. And then what was really bad is that they modified the Wikipedia entry so that it would then basically read an ad to you.
Oh, wow.
That was terrible. This was back in 2017. So the 15-second ad featured someone in a Burger King uniform leaning into the camera before saying, okay, you-know-who, what is the Whopper burger? And then if you had a Google Home near your TV, it would wake up and begin reading the Wikipedia entry for the Whopper. And furthermore, they'd modified it so it was an ad for the Whopper, which really annoyed, I think, pretty much everyone. Anyway, it would begin with this sentence, the Whopper sandwich is the signature hamburger product sold by international fast food restaurant chain Burger King and its Australian franchise Hungry Jack's, which I never heard of. Anyway, what did you want to know, Kevin? I'm sorry.
Well, it's just the fact that they're now in the game, and you kind of hit it on the NFL, but I can also see them go after NBA and MLS as well, but also NBC's back in the baseball game as well with Peacock, and I guess the streaming wars aren't over, right?
Get ready. Streaming is wars. This is what's really the war is not against other streamers. I mean, it is. It's as much as it's against broadcast. And if you're a fan of sports or almost anything and you want to watch it on free broadcast television, your days are numbered. Those two Major League Baseball games, I believe, will not be available on broadcast. Maybe I'm wrong. NFL Sunday Night will not be available on cable, I think, if Amazon or what they've been doing is a hybrid up to now. But really, the long-term goal is to say, yeah, you have to subscribe to this streaming platform if you want to see your games. And I think that's terrible. You don't. Not only will you not get it on broadcast, but you actually will have to. You're right. Subscribe to Peacock and Apple TV and Amazon Prime, and it's crazy. But there's money in it.
It's crazy, but you got to consider about 30 years ago when ESPN first began broadcasting.
Well, ESPN did it. That's right.
Probably the same argument.
Right.
Like, why do I need to pay for something I can get for free? Well, as it turns out, people do if the quality is good. Like, for instance, with ESPN, they just got Joe Buck from Fox to improve Monday Night Football.
Because there's money.
People can watch Monday Night Football. And
ESPN is the single most expensive cable channel from the cable provider's point of view. It's almost $15 a month. They pay ESPN to have that. And they can't not have it, right? Now, go ahead and get rid of your ESPN, see how your customers feel. They'd be furious. So in the long run, I think it hurts customers because now we're locked in. We have to have ESPN. Cable companies have to have ESPN. And then ESPN raises its prices.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it just never ends on that front. As far as the Mac Studio and Studio Display, I'm going to be kind of like Philip J. Fry in Futurama saying, shut up and take my money.
That's how Apple knows its fans will act. And I bet you, I noticed that the ship dates for both the Fat Mac and the Studio slipped by months now. If you don't, if you didn't order immediately, I actually ordered during the event, and I'm going to get it on Friday because I try to get these things fast so I can review them for the show. So I'll have it for next week's show. But if you waited, when are you getting yours?
The Mac Studio. Oh, yeah. Actually, did you already order yours, Kenny?
No, not yet. I'm trying to get my money saved up for it.
Yeah.
I'm going to try until...
I'd been saving my pennies. I knew this was going to happen, so I've been saving up already. Just little Mac Studio fund. But let me see. It says, you could order now, and they say available as soon as March 18th. Well, good luck. Let me just build a Mac Studio right now and see. If you order it today, April 5th for the Macs, and you want the Ultra, April 26th, which tells me either the Ultra's in shorter supply or it's more desirable. That's the $4,000. Get that. The $4,000 Mac Studio. You have to wait till April 26th. More than a month. 6 weeks.
Mine says between March 30th and April 6th.
That's the one you ordered.
The Mac Studio with Macs.
If I hadn't jumped on it during the event, I don't know if I'd be getting it on Friday. Well, are you excited, Kenny?
Oh, I'm excited for it. I guess this, and you guys kind of hinted on it, that it's pretty much the end of the iMac as we know it, as far as the all-in-one, in the sense that they're now making you having to buy kind of a secondary item, and they're getting into the display market, which is something that they used to get into, and now they're back in a big way. But it's my understanding, and maybe Micah may know more about it, it's not pure 4K, is it?
It's not 4K at all. It's 5K.
It's better than 4K.
Okay.
It's one better.
All right.
And the strong rumor, sources say that Apple will not do a 27-inch iMac ever again, or an iMac Pro. They'll continue to offer the 24-inch, which is the kind of the low-end, pretty iMac for people who care more about looks, than or on the executive's desk or that kind of thing, because it's simple and pretty. But for people who really want an iMac to be a full-blown power Mac, no, you're going to have to get the separates, which makes sense. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Thanks. Good to talk to you, Kenny. Thanks for the call. TechGuyLabs.com, the website. Leo Laporte, Micah Sargent, taking your calls. More calls coming up right after this. I'm now thinking I'm going to replace... What do you want?
I was just adjusting my volume down a little bit.
It's a little loud. It's a little loud now.
I had to tone it up earlier. But
Quiet. No, it's going to be loud. This, I don't think this Mac can go to Monterey, right? So that means...
Oh, what year is that one?
Checking for updates. Let's just see. I think... Yeah. No, this one's 2014, late 2014. So this is the older one, stuck on Big Sur. So, and this is nice. This is a nice 5K iMac, but
is that the iMac Pro or is
this is what they call the 5K? I had an iMac Pro 2017, and that's what Lisa's using here.
Got it.
Yeah, they're more of a slate gray.
Yeah, that's right.
So she has the Pro in her office. The home computer is like this one, stuck pre-Monterey. So I'm thinking, I tried putting my Mac 14-inch MacBook Pro M1 Pro on the 55-inch OLED at home. It's too damn big. It's just too dang big for using.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my original plan was, I'm going to get the high-end $5,000 Mac Studio and put that on the 55-inch OLED, and then I'll be in hog heaven. But now I'm thinking I don't think I'm going to use it that way. So I'm thinking maybe give her that and then to use with the studio monitor, and then bring in the lower end, the Max, which isn't that low end, to replace this. And then that LG monitor would be here. And then so this will go away. Put this. I don't know. What would we do with this one, John? Given that you can't. Yeah, we'd use it for some sort of silly thing. 55 inches. And I'm 4 feet away. I'm a little beyond arm's length.
Man,
it's good for gaming.
Yeah,
but you have to move your head around
and everything.
It's a lot of mousing. I'm thinking it's not. I don't know.
It seems like a lot.
I have a week to figure this out. I don't know.
When does her
studio
come?
Not for a while.
I think we probably, because you also got her a terabyte instead. I think we both did the same.
I got her a terabyte on the studio. I can't remember.
I think we ended up getting the same one, and so we're both March 30th to April 1st.
Yeah, I think she's March 30th. Yeah, because it's a BTO.
But mine also says preparing to ship. So I don't know how long it'll stay in preparing to ship, but it would be cool if it came soon.
Let's see my orders. What are my orders? What are my orders? Mac Studio display, order in progress, and my Mac Studio preparing to ship.
Okay, same as mine, yeah.
Mine. So which is closer, order in progress or preparing to ship?
Preparing to ship is closer.
Okay, so this one, this one is processing for Friday, March 18th.
That's the Ultra? Your Ultra?
Yeah.
Nice.
And then... Yeah. So that is the order in progress, and then preparing to ship is for March 30th. So I think it's the other way around.
Yeah, that's weird.
So preparing to ship, maybe it'll come sooner. I don't know. And then studio display is also studio display is order in progress, and that's April 7th. That's what yours is as well?
My studio display is going to come on March 18th.
Oh. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo, the phone number. Micah Sargent's with me. And on the line, it's Acela, like the train. You probably really don't like that train, do you? From West Hills, California. Hi, Acela. Oh, she's talking to somebody else. Are you talking to somebody else? I don't want to interrupt. I also don't want to overhear. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know where I'm going with that? So let's say hi to Derek in Los Angeles. Don't want to snoop on people's phone calls. Hi, Derek.
Yes. Hello, Mr. Leo. Thank you. I called you 2 weeks ago as to where to find a replacement printhead for my Epson carriage printer.
Yes. Were you able to find one?
Well, you mentioned not yet. You mentioned checking show notes, I thought that's what you said, which I understood was
TechGuyLabs.com. Yeah. Did that link not get there?
I applied. Well, just for the latest, I figured that would be in the Twit community, and I applied for that and was approved.
No, that's not where it is. It's on the website at TechGuyLabs.com, and I apologize for the confusion. Although the community, which is our forums for our podcast network, is a good place to ask questions, and it may well be somebody in there who has a good answer. Always good to rely on the auspices of the community, but the show notes are on the website at techguylabs.com, and that's by show number, so you'd have to go back, I guess, a couple of weeks to whatever that show is.
Oh, I see. Because I'd have to be able to listen to that again.
Yeah, you want to hear yourself on the radio? You could do that. Yep.
Okay, but I was approved for the
community.
Community.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm calling it the Leoverse.
Yes.
And I clicked on the approval link. I'm receiving Safari cannot open page.
Oh.
Because Safari cannot establish a secure connection to the server.
I have not heard about that, so I'm pretty sure there are people using Safari with. I'm using Safari with it, so I'm not sure. Make sure your date and time is correct. And are you? Do you keep your system up to date?
No.
There you go.
It is OS X El Capitan.
So you want to, at least Safari can be updated separately. You want to make sure you've got the latest version of Safari. And I'll tell you, this is a complicated process. What's happening is the browser is saying, I can't take you to this site because the certificate on this site cannot be validated. So it's protecting you. This is what how HTTPS works. It's a certificate-based system. Now, I'm really getting in the weeds here. But if you click the lock, in the browser, you can actually see the certificate. The certificate is a little piece of software that I run on the web server, that all web servers that are secure run, that validate that it is who it says it is. It's issued by something called a CA, a certificate authority. In fact, this is what we were talking about at the beginning of the show. We were saying Russia is creating its own CAs because the certificate authorities around the world don't want to do business with Russia, or in many cases can't because of sanctions. And so they can't transfer, payments. And so Russia's websites are starting to have this problem where their certificates are out of date. An out-of-date certificate will generally, the browser will say, in fact, you've seen this before. Proceed? Do you sure? This is not safe? The site is not, the certificate is out of date. So that can go both ways. So the browser certificate can be out of date as well. Browsers download, when they're updated, they download the latest certificate store. This, by the way, is also part of the problem that Russia's going to have because their certificate authorities won't be in that listing. So if your browser's out of date, you could get this. I know our certificates are updated on a Twit community, so update your browser. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hello, Dickie D. Getting ready. Wearing that nice yellow plaid shirt. He can't hear anything I'm saying. He can't. The year is 2099. Infectious diseases, poverty, crime, and war are things of the past. But printers are still terrible. Yeah, that's true. The question is, will we still need printers in 2099? And my guess is yes. Do you remember when I had somebody say paperless office will be a thing as soon as paperless bathrooms are a thing? And then now I realize I've got a Toto toilet.
I was going to say,
I don't need a printer anymore.
Yeah, I also use a bidet, but I do use a printer.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy with Micah Sargent, Tech Guy 2. Dick Debartolo, Mad's Maddest Writer, coming up. Now let's see if Acela can talk to us. Hi, Acela.
I'm finally here. I'm so sorry about earlier.
Oh, I just didn't want to eavesdrop on your conversation.
I'm at the Apple store, as a matter of fact, trying to get tech help, but I got you instead.
I love it. She's at the Apple store. She tells us it was a genius. Never mind. I've got Leo on the line.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. I have an iPad Pro, a newer one, about a year old. I'm trying to do a live podcast on Spreaker, and I have 2 microphones and 2 headphones. As you know, there's only one input on this iPad Pro versus a laptop Mac has many inputs. Can I do it on my iPad Pro with a bunch of, like accessories?
Not dongles, but with a mixer you can. So
okay, I have a little mini separate preamp thing where I can plug it into.
What you need is something that has a USB out. That can be plugged into the iPad Pro.
Right.
And then it has multiple inputs for microphones or whatever else, and it mixes it down and sends it over to the iPad Pro. In fact, there's a great product from Behringer, Behringer, that's designed for doing exactly this.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you know what it's called?
I own one.
Oh, wow. Is it a plug-in thing that will plug into that?
No, it's a mixer. It's really a mixer. What you want is a mixer that'll work with the iPad Pro. And that means a USB mixer. Most mixers are not USB, but nowadays, thanks to computers, there are lots of them. What you'd really like is a mixer that knows it's talking to an iPad, has iPad software that you could then use to control the mixer, and that's what I'm talking about with the Behringer.
Now, do I need all this for 2 microphones, which is talking, and 2 headphones? So there's nothing like...
Yeah.
Like not...
Well, here's another way to do it. Yeah, I understand. The problem is 2. Is it 1? No problem, and you know that. 1's easy.
Yeah.
It's 2. More than 1 is the problem. It doesn't care if it's 2 or 200. So there is a company that I like a lot called Zoom that makes a podcast mixer that is a little less expensive, that does have, in fact, 4 mics. They might even have one with 2 mics. That it's zoomcorp.com, and it also is a USB mixer. So it will plug. Now, I don't know if it has iPod software with it. The Behringer...
2 headphones and 2 microphones.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Great.
I got one for my son. He uses it actually for his podcast, believe it or not.
So I don't have to go do a laptop then?
No. Now, honestly, you don't even need the iPad. You can record in this Zoom device.
Well, I use Spreaker.
Oh, you need the software. I get it.
Yeah, I'm using Spreaker podcast,
Okay.
Videos.
As long as Spreaker can take a single input and understand what's going on, yeah, you'll be fine.
They are, because I have the highest subscription. I think
Well, it's not a question of money. It's just a question of capabilities. So you'll probably end up mixing this in the Zoom, and then because it has volume controls for all of it. It's called
PodTrack P4. Is that
P4? Yeah.
I can't just get an accessory like to go into that one input and it has a bunch of outputs, different ones.
That's what this is.
Have to use a mixer?
Yeah, that's what a mixer is. That's all a mixer does. It takes multiple inputs and mixes them down. That's literally what a mixer is. So the PodTrack P4, $219. It has 2 headphone jacks. Actually, it's 4.
Wow.
4 microphone inputs. You never know. You might add. What's your podcast?
It's called Chance to Have It All, and we're just doing a new platform now. We've been on for 10 years. I do it with a guy from Redbone, the 70s band Redbone, that Come and Get Your Love.
Oh, yeah, I love Redbone. Yeah.
That's my ex-husband, actually, but we do a podcast together for years.
Fun.
Global listeners. I like Spreaker because there's live chat.
Yes.
So he has people literally all over the planet.
It's nice to have that kind of feedback while you're doing it. We have live chat, too, and I agree. So the only question is... Well, there's no questions. You can run Spreaker on the iPad. You will be plugging in this P4. It'll act as if it's one microphone. So the iPad goes, yes, I hear the input. And it'll go to Spreaker. The nice thing about this, if your ex starts talking too much, you can just turn him down on the P4. because you can.
It's usually me who talks too much.
Well, don't let him anywhere near the buttons, okay? So the P4 is really, it's small. It's like a little cassette recorder. It lets you plug in up to 4 microphones, up to 4 headphones. Each headphone has its own independent volume, which is nice. So he's been in Redbone. He probably is deaf because he's been rocking for years.
Exactly. All this is going to go into my one little input in my iPad.
And it all goes into your one little input. Exactly.
Right.
Here's the other benefit.
A lot to handle for one little input, but
that's what a mixer is, right? When you have one input, you can have one mic. You want more than one, you need a way to mix them together, and that's what a mixer does. Right. And $200 is nothing.
I have my playlist of the songs that I'm playing, which are on my playlist.
Oh, get ready. Here's another thing. Because you have 4 inputs, you could also hook up a music input. He could have his guitar hooked up to the Zoom.
Oh, well, no, we're not going that crazy.
But you could. You could.
I could, though. That's good to know.
Yeah.
In case he feels the desire to go live.
I always thought I wish I were a keyboard player, because I always thought it'd be fun to have a keyboard hooked up while I'm doing the show, and I could play a little do-do-do-do-do.
Exactly.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That's a great idea.
So he could do that with this P4. Yeah. The other thing the P4 is good at, the Zoom records as well. So if you didn't have the iPad around as a backup, as a backup, you could make a podcast out of it without Spreaker.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, can I call back or look on the website and see this show again?
Yes, but I'll just tell you now, and we'll put it in the show notes. It's zoomcorp.com. And the PodTrack P4, but we'll put that in the show notes so you can go to Tech Guy Labs.
I listen to you all the time. I love your show, and I can't believe I got to talk to you.
We're going to play some Redbone music when we come back, I think.
Man, I'm telling you, and when we do our podcast, we are going to shout you out, too, because I love your show.
Oh, bless you. Well, yes, when you have the new, when he's laying down some licks with his guitar. Is he a guitar player, or what is he?
He's the one. Look, he's the one who went, don't. He's the bass player.
Oh, even better. You could have Seinfeld-like stings.
Yes.
That would be fun.
Wait till I tell him that you like Redbone. He's going to love it.
Oh.
He's 82 right now, but going on 62.
You know, this is how I know I'm old, because all my rock heroes are in their 70s and 80s.
I'm telling you, well, I'm 60. I just turned 60, so it's only a number.
It's only a number. So, what's the name of the show again, so people can find it? What's the name of the show?
It's called Chance to Have It All.
Chance to Have It All, and is it only on Spreaker?
On his newest CD, Pat Vegas has a Redbone, and that's our theme song as well. But it's Redbone, yeah. Chance to Have It All show, and we're all over Apple.
I see it. I see it. It's on all the podcast platforms. How exciting!
Thanks, guys.
Hey, thank you. There's one other device I bought, and it's coming any day now, that is a standalone recording device, and it does something that I'm just learning about now called 32-bit recording.
Okay.
So when we record CDs and stuff, they're in 16-bit. Or sometimes 24-bit recording. So the way digitization works, you slice it up, say 44,100 times a second, into slices, and then you digitize those slices using a 16-bit number. That's CD quality. 44,100 samples a second. Each sample is 16 bits. That's 65,000 possibilities. But you can also record at 24 bits. Turns out if you record at 32 bits, you have so many bits that you can't clip. You can't record too loud.
Got it.
So it gives you this is a new thing. I'm just starting to learn about this, 32-bit recording. The Zoom F3, same company, does 32-bit recording, which means you don't have to worry about how loud or soft anything is. You can fix it after the fact because it'll never clip. So when I get this, I'll talk a little more about it. This thing's even smaller. This is a tiny little thing, the Zoom F3. A little more expensive, too. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, Dick Debartolo, coming up.
I just want to spin a lasso.
I love it. Boogie, oogie, oogie. What is this? That sounded like Niles Rodgers playing the bass there. Not Redbone. Chic. It is Nile Rodgers. Leo Laporte. Everybody dance. And dancing into the studio right now, Dick Debartolo, Mad Magazine's maddest writer in the Gizwiz. He's wearing disco plaid today. I don't know. Was that a big thing in disco? Plaid flannel shirts?
Well, it is now.
Because all the discoers are a little chilly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So Dick joins us every week to talk about a gizmo, a gadget, a thing. He's our gizmo wizard, or GizWiz for short. What's up, Dickie D?
You know what? I found this was popular many years ago. Toy Fair, probably 15 years ago, had a dozen of them. Then they faded away, and I was on Amazon, and it seems like there were like a dozen of them again, and they are floating globes.
Floating?
Okay, magnetically.
That's just, but this is so weird.
Wow.
Scott
Why, were you
Wilkinson's
just
got
talking
one.
about-
We were.
Yes.
Because Scott has one in his studio.
Does he have the one with the globe and the LED lights?
I don't know. I didn't see it. I just saw someone in the chat talking
I have a
about
little
it. and then he said
video.
it out loud.
Yeah,
Let's
if you
see.
go to
I
my
think
website,
so.
you can-
I think so.
Oh, this is
GizWiz,
so-
I'm going to check it out. GizWiz.biz, GIZWIZ.biz. Do you ever do that, by the way? Spell it out loud every single time you type it? No?
I do not.
Okay.
Sorry. Yes, and. Yes,
and. Yeah, no, you're right. You shouldn't. It's like reading out loud. Oh, this is cool. So it's got like a C.
A C, like a C, yes, a C stand.
Yeah.
And then the globe is small. It's about 3.5 inches.
Is it magnets?
Well, it's magnetic. I mean, but once you have to be very careful. In the old days, you would put your finger there as a spacer and hold it there,
Gently,
and then slowly.
yeah.
Right, but now it comes with a suspension tool.
Oh, okay.
Basically, a plastic finger. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, a little plastic finger, and so you just put it up there, and then just slide this guy out, and then it just hangs there, and for some reason it spins for about a half hour, and then just hangs there motionless. But if you're very gentle with it, you can just take your finger and give it a little spin, and it'll go for at least another half hour.
Because there's hardly any friction.
Exactly.
Dick, magnets, how do they work?
You know, I don't know. I'm trying to put magnets in a mini mirrored ball, so I could take the
very
globe
cool.
out,
Yes.
and then have a spinning mirrored ball. But it's really neat.
You know, I don't want to burst your bubble or anything, but our 19-year-old has had a Green Bay Packers helmet that's been floating in space. It doesn't ever seem to stop, by the way. It spins.
Oh.
So there must be something that they're putting in there to give it a little perpetual motion.
Oh, that's interesting.
But yeah, he's had that
maybe
since
he just
Christmas.
sees you coming up the stairs.
And he spins it as soon as like...
Yeah.
Oh, no, we got to start again.
Very interesting. So this is called what? The MOKOQI.
Oh, yeah, you know, but don't buy that one because I paid... it's $42 and there's a $5 off coupon.
Okay.
But I found what looks like the identical thing for $10 less.
Oh, okay.
And I put a link to that one too. It says this one looks exactly the same.
Different brand name, but probably
different brand. Yeah.
This one's called Grease Us.
Grease Us?
Yeah, Grease Us.
Jesus is.
These are all.
Grease Us.
You know, these are. It's one company in China that makes them.
Mm-hmm.
And
absolutely,
yeah, it's just a bunch of dropship sellers that sell it on Alibaba.
Yes,
or whatever.
yes, and you know, Chad, I was saying, how do they come up with the names? And Chad said they smash their head into a keyboard
whenever it comes out.
That's the brand. That's the brand.
The other trend you see on Amazon, because they want every keyword under the sun, is they get these long. This is the real full name of it, according to Amazon: the Greasus Magnetic Levitation Floating World Map Globe with C-shape based floating globe with LED lights. Great fathers, students, teacher, business, boyfriend birthday gift for home office desk decoration. But it is a lot cheaper, $26.99 right now.
Yeah, and it's really neat. I bought it thinking, but if I could find a place in my studio, I have so much mad stuff everywhere. I don't know where I can display it, but I think it's really.
It's very cool. I like it.
Yeah,
yeah. It's like it's spinning, and the good news is you can have it. You can have the sun rise in the east or the west, depending on which way you want to spin it. Oh, this even has the little tool. So this is you are not sacrificing anything.
No,
Yeah.
the little suspension tool. I was depressed when it said, if you lose your suspension tool, use your finger. I said, well, wait a minit.
Finger's a backup
Wait a
suspension tool. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, that's very cool. Gizwiz.biz. You can read all about it. You can see Dick's video, and then you can also get the link to the $26 version. Different colors, so forth, so on.
Yes.
Yeah.
The one I have is Silver World on Black Globe.
I think that looks really cool. The Silver World.
I do too.
Yeah, on the black
I do
globe.
too. Yeah.
Globe. Very cool. Now, if you're at the website, you should probably have some fun there. There's all sorts of stuff Dick's got on his website, including, well, so let me give you some, be your tour guide. If you click the blue button that says the GizWiz visits the tech guy, then you get to see the globe. But at the top, there's an even bluer button, the GizWiz. It's actually Gadgets I showed on World News Now. That's the ABC overnight show. Dick's on that every month. He also has, if you look at the red button there on the right, What the Heck Is It? The new What the Heck Is It contest has begun. It's a red button. Everyone knows it's a red button. I don't know how you're going to have any competition here, but, you know, maybe you could say even more about what red button does when you push it.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. It's probably,
Does Micah know who Red Buttons was?
No.
I
Never heard of Red Buttons?
No.
Oh.
No.
Clem
Okay, we finally got
Cadiddlehopper.
him.
You must have heard of
You
Clem
did
Cadiddle.
finally get me, yes.
We got him.
Remember Clem Cadiddlehopper?
Sure.
Sure.
Of course you do.
There used to be a sandwich shop in Santa Cruz that had the Clem Cadiddlehopper sandwich.
Are you lying? Is this all just
I
an
am
elaborate
not
lie?
lying. We're not playing you, Micah. This is all
I
real.
feel played like a Clediddlehopper.
Like a Clem Cadiddlehopper. The red button or whatever that is, if you can identify it, you're in the running for 12, actually only 6 copies of autographed copies of Mad Magazine for the right answer. There's 12 for the wrong answer. So, you know, I think you probably could figure out what you should do. But if you know what it is, it's kind of satisfying to say, I know exactly what that is.
It's like if Greasus or Mokoki made a Staples Easy button, that's
what it would look like. Now, this is the last winning. I get these magazines sent to me by some stranger named Rick Tobartolo. That's the Mad Magazine from last time. We don't know yet what you're playing for this time, right?
No, we'll be playing for June, but no idea.
June Mad Magazine. It's kind of fun. GizWiz.biz. Dick also does a podcast with Chad Johnson every week called The GizWiz. It's at GizWiz.tv. Thank you, Dickie D.
Thank you, sir. I'll talk to you next week.
Have a wonderful week. Thank you,
buddy.
Micah Sargent.
Yes,
it's great to have you in here as well. It's much more fun doing this show with somebody else. So thank you. Thanks to Professor Laura, our musical director. She didn't play any Redbone for us today, but maybe tomorrow. Thanks to our phone angel, Kim Schaffer, for answering your calls. And, of course, thanks most of all to those of you who call in and listen in and make this show what it is today, the slowest rising show on broadcast radio. Without you, it would even be slower. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. We'll be back next time. More of your questions, more of your answers. And don't forget, every week we put all the links up at our website, techguylabs.com. There's also a transcript to the show with the time codes, audio and video as well. So if you miss an episode or you want to know more about something we talked about, it's all there. techguylabs.com. Have a great geek week. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.